Welcome back to the grim darkness of the 41st millennium. I'm Inquisitor Temperance Pryce, keeper of the Inquisition's Black Library, and this is the second volume in a report on the Valentyne Heresy, an actual play podcast set in the Genesys Adaptation of Warhammer 40k's Dark Heresy RPG. This report features Game Master Ryan LaPlante and players Tom McGee as Interrogator Nero Abagnale, Laura Elizabeth as Piper Fairley, Tyler Hewitt as Seth Corbyn, and Borovic as Sister Olianne Mina. My report shows that a number of bargains were struck with the House leaders. Seth secured Bane support and planted a tracker on her. Olianne acquired Markus's protection, and Piper prevented Vance from revealing her psychic interference in the match, but all at the expense of owing each house a favour in return. Now, what does Horus have to do with the psychic template that has replaced Nero's memories? Find out next in this episode of the Valentyne Heresy.
From the personal musings of Fabius Bile. Horus claimed he could lead us out from beneath the Emperor's yoke, guiding us through the darkness of the future by the light of his own ambition. We followed because we could not see a better way, none of us realizing he was little more than a blind man leading an army of fools. There are many opinions on Horus, and one of them has just been asked of Invictus by Nero Abagnale, who asked, "What do you know of Horus?" And of course, Invictus, the inquisitorial chaotician, replied, "Everything." Before we dive into a deep conversation about the deep-cut lore of Warhammer 40k that may require a lot of footnotes for listeners who don't know it. So, Tom, I hate to rob you of this improvisational moment, but what conversation does Invictus want to have about Horus or Nero with Invictus? And then we could probably deal with it a little more abstractly to make sure everyone has full context. Because I'm also aware you and I will have lore walls we will hit.
We will, but I think Nero will also have lore walls. I guess this is a some cards on the table moment, I suppose.
Should I earmuffs this?
Well, I mean, you're all already wearing earmuffs. I can see them.
Yeah.
I mean, I think the thing we can remember is none of your characters are hearing this conversation. You're all having a conversation with your leaders.
It's also a season 3 of Valentyne cards on the table thing. So I'm just trying to navigate how much I should tell you as a player.
So what I would say is just to make sure that it's put together. Yeah, I guess Nero does not have access to anything under his template other than the Gargarius Feroc memory and the few bleeds he has. So if it's long term, he doesn't know that. Yeah,
fortunately, it still falls in that territory. Basically, for him, he is, as you know, he's convinced that Horus is behind everything, and basically, as he's I think described, he fully believes that Horus never died and is actively working. And then there's a bunch of bleed stuff that we can probably
honestly, that's
all he
enough.
knows. His under the template, he probably knows a lot more, but the template only has that, and it's very much a like a modern conspiracy theorist version of that, where it's because JFK is actually Biden's chief of staff. Check the tapes. That level.
So he just wants to dive into his Horus is still alive and affecting the galaxy scenario, or
he would assume that other people know this. So this is very much because basically hearing I know everything, he wouldn't be like, give me the historical facts about Horus. He'd be like, cool, where's he at right now? And like, fill me in on what's happening right now is I think where his head would be at. That said, for your Inquisitor, I don't know that he'd have that context necessarily, because none of this would have been in any of the reports, because this is template brain.
Okay. What I would say is, weirdly enough, because I also want to contextualize it, which is why I didn't have us go through this, because there would be so many secrets that I think it would be literally tough to know what was lore and what wasn't. Invictus would happily engage in this conversation. Invictus, as you would discover probably over the course of this chat, is a chaotician. Because he is a null or a psychic blank, he's allowed to deal with a lot of texts that traditionally inquisitorial servants couldn't, because he's not corrupted by reading, a copy of Lorgar's word or a copy
Some of us were.
I didn't know that about blanks, that they can't be corrupted in that way.
Demons start to collapse when they approach them. So a demon could attack a blank, but they become much more vulnerable and start to waste away much more quickly. They're immune to psychic powers. They can't be converted. That's why the most deadly and effective of them are actually converted into assassins for they're not the Vindicare, because that's the shooting. Calidus.
Oh,
is the
yeah, the ones with the
shapeshifter.
big stupid
Calexis.
helmets.
They're the Calexis assassins, where they take blanks and literally it's a whole anti-psyker wing of the Officio Assassinorum. But Invictus, because he's a chaotician, he's read all these documents, and he'd actually run you through the details of what the Imperium currently knows of what happened with Horus. Great. So for people who don't know anything about the Horus heresy, the Imperium was originally going out from Earth across the galaxy in an aptly titled Great Crusade, because if you didn't follow all the rules, they'd fucking kill you. But they were trying to recreate a new golden age of humanity. The Emperor with his Space Marines, Emperor jokingly called Jimmy Space, look into it, I cannot go that deep, but I love it so much. But he sent out Space Marines. There were 20 legions of Space Marines, all of them led by a genetically engineered proto-god to us. In the time they were very anti-religion. But each of them were kind of, then their legion was a copy of them and their personalities. Horus was the greatest of them, the most ambitious, the smartest, the best general, arguably the best fighter. That one's kind of up and down, and people go all over the place on that. But he was definitively the most ambitious. So partway through the Great Crusade, the Emperor had to return to Earth, because he had greater plans, which were completely fucked up by what immediately happened afterwards, which is Horus was corrupted by the Chaos Gods and turned against the Emperor and created a massive civil war where half of the Space Marine legions and the Crusade forces turned back to try to kill the Emperor. And it's the reason 40K sucks, because in 30K there was such a massive civil war that it basically broke society into the Dark Ages. What Invictus would be able to tell Nero of the files and what is knowledge is Horus was slain on the Vengeful Spirit, which is the final showdown between the Emperor and Horus at the climax of the Civil War. The Emperor killed him. The Emperor was injured and was forced to go into the Golden Throne. Again, I'm sorry for the deep cut, but
he's
Horus,
totally fine, definitely alive. It's all good. Jimmy Space is killing it.
Horus was killed, quote unquote. There are Horusian philosophers who believe that this is kind of like a conspiracy theory, as always, because how many people actually saw that body? The body was taken by his legion, the Sons of Horus, and the other legions when they fell back to the Eye of Terror originally. At which point, Fabius Bile, a name that would definitely hit that little redacted thing that would cause you a wince every time you heard it in this conversation. Fabius Bile is the one who is believed to have Horus's body. And he was attempting to clone him when the facility was attacked by the Black Legion led by Abaddon, who Black Legion were the Sons of Horus, who basically were like, he fucked up so bad, he's not our legion anymore, we're our own thing. And then the body is supposed to have been destroyed, but were several Black Crusades. Some people argue Abaddon is Horus, or Abaddon was a clone of Horus. Invictus would be very into all this stuff, but I think in the same way that people who know a lot about QAnon but don't believe in QAnon are just really ready to tell you the weird story of QAnon. So that's what you would get out of him. Cool. And then we'll kind of cut back into the scene, I think, for your final reaction to
this. That's perfect. So Nero would be nodding along with most of this in kind of like a, I know, get there. Using my own frame of reference as a big Star Wars nerd, it's like if I had a real obscure, like, Corran Horn adventure late in the books that I really want to talk about, and you're like, okay, so Luke Skywalker. I'm like, of course. Yeah, I know. Yeah. Blue milk. I want to go touch. I get it. Come on, let's go. Princess. Yeah, I get it. Death Star. Boom. Alderaan. Who cares? Like, fucking get to the expanded game. Where's the using Vong? So I feel like I'm just nodding. But also in a way that I'm sure is great for Invictus, but would be concerning to an outsider because none of this is news. Like, this is the greatest hidden conspiracy in the Imperium, other than the health of Jimmy Space. And yet I'm just like, yeah. Cool. And then we start talking about the modern stuff. Nero's actually getting really agitated. And we've all seen, I think, shades of this before. But using your analogy, Ryan, it's like if someone has like read some articles about QAnon, it's like, oh, cool. So here's some things I learned. And then like the person who started it's like, But there's a cooler version, right? So I think Nero's eventually getting to a point of like, sure, Abaddon, yeah, of course, yeah, sure. But where is he actually? He's here, isn't he? He's here, right? He's here with, or is he on the Golden Throne where he's supposed to be? Is he here or is he on the Golden Throne? Is he here or is he on the Golden Throne? Is he here or is he on the Golden Throne?
Can you roll me? I think this might be coercion by accident. I feel like this is...
Yeah, I'll buy that. Yeah.
This is a willpower coercion.
I'll buy that for a nickel. Great. Well, I'm going to use my amazing coercion skill of 0 and my willpower of 2.
Great. It's difficulty 2.
All right.
I will say 1 setback because this is bad behavior, but a boost because you are tremendously insistent.
Can I argue for? This is dumb. Can I argue for an auto threat to myself? Because
Tom, why you do this?
Because he's honest.
Yeah, good old honest Nero. If Nero's known for anything,
I think you're just like secretly sabotaging the party.
It's straight. Secretly, have you heard a word that's come out of my mouth since we started playing?
I mean like not Nero.
Shot
You.
Nero's skull shield and dragged him into the arena to die. He's a bold character, and I celebrate these choices.
I'm going to argue for an auto threat increase because I think if I'm Invictus, I'd be pretty jazzed to get to like unveil, like, pull back the curtain on the greatest secrets of the Imperium. And I would be really concerned if this clearly unhinged man who isn't a full Inquisitor is just walking around being like, yeah, I got full knowledge of the entire heresy.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, I think that's true. I think it might be okay otherwise because you'd think you were talking to him, but you did say Horus belonged on the throne, so we'll roll that into this.
Right. Thanks, buddy. What's our story point situation at?
You've got 1 and I've got 4.
Jeez.
I'm gonna spend it because Nero really fucking wants to know.
All right.
He's not doing this to help the party. He just wants to know.
Well, yeah, no. Yeah.
He wants to know real bad. Cool. So we got 1 green, 1 yellow, 2 purple, 1 blue, 1 black, and 1 auto threat.
Yeah, let's see what happens.
Christ.
Oh, your God. 3 successes, 3 threats.
3 successes and 3 threats. This is a good balance. Invictus looks up at you through his weird goggles from his like vaguely mad scientist body, and he looks up at you and just says, "Interesting. He could be here. I can't rule it out. We should hunt for him together. Perhaps as part of your overall quest."
Yeah. No, that's good. Good. You and I, we're going to be real good friends.
Yes,
I like you.
Yes. I will stay with you all to ensure your mission can be complete. It is time, he says, turning to the rest of the room, for the Inquisition to leave. I will see you tomorrow for the heist activity. And
I'll just wave to him and be like, kill for the living, kill for the dead, Lupercal.
Okay, he says, vaguely off-put, mainly in timing. When you look around the room, all of the house leaders have already talked to all of you and are withdrawn. So he's announcing it as though it's for the house leaders, but it ends up coming across as that vague yelling at campers to get on a bus you all know you're going to have to get on. Because standing alone, you've all got your permission, essentially, to leave. So unless anyone has anything specific they want to do in this room. Great, I'm getting a bunch of shaking heads. It's a podcast,
that's
but I got
fine.
it out there.
Piper wants the fuck out.
All right, so the party exits with Invictus. You enter one of the elevators. You go back down. It turns out there's the parking garage below. It's still poorly lit, but slightly better after the emergency. You get the sense that...
Can Piper wait and take the next elevator?
Yeah.
Because he's a blank.
She does not want to be in an enclosed... She would do everything in her power to not be in an enclosed space with him.
Yeah, that would suck for you. Warden would stay. I don't think Invictus would. He's pretty clueless socially, so I don't even think he'd pick up on it. It'd be one of those, if you just follow at the back of the group, you can kind of step to the left and wait. Yeah. You follow down in an elevator. It's Invictus down at the bottom with the rest of you. He's like, I don't know. Did she get lost? I don't understand.
She does that, but don't worry, Warden. He's really on it. And if she got lost, he'll make sure she stays lost, unless she's just lost, in which case you'll help her find her way.
Excellent. And he reaches up and just claps his hands sharply, and a Taurox pulls around the corner and up in front of you. It's a raised space underground. Think of it as a more industrial space than a traditional parking lot under a building. A Taurox itself, picture an SUV that's armored and can fit a squad of people, 10 people sitting on 2 racks in the back. It's a mix between a truck and a tank. It has a large Inquisition symbol emblazoned on both sides. It's jet black front to back with tinted windows. You get the feeling that this is as much a prisoner transport as it is an honorable conveyance. In the front seat, Invictus just opens the door and 2 additional steps spring out so he can waddle up. And he just shoves the stormtrooper who's currently driving in black inquisitorial fatigues into the passenger seat. And he's like, "Get in and we'll go and take you to your new residence." You arrive now, Piper. I think you'll roll out as everyone is climbing into the back of the Torox.
What about our personal effects? Everything that we left at our original room.
Yes, that is. I mean, you are staying at the Bolter Express, yes?
Yes.
Those are your rooms. I will be staying in one of the additional floors. Security has been set up around it by the houses after your admission of their protection over time. But we can discuss this on the road.
And he just slams the door and turns it on, and you just get a huge wash of exhaust hitting you at the back of the vehicle. It's clearly better to be in with the rear shut than it is to be waiting. However, you do have a moment where no one could overhear you if there's something you want to quickly say before you climb in.
I think Seth would just say, in the time it took us to socialize, I think big air quotes around socialize, and get back to our room, you can be sure that there's some sort of surveillance set up by one or more of the houses. We'll have to sweep for listening and video devices once we get in. No talk of the mission until we are sure that our rooms are secure once again.
All right. Can you just keep Invictus away from me though? Can we just have
sit at the back, Piper?
I'm just saying having a buffer would be nice. That's all. I'm just advocating for myself, okay?
You can ride in the back or you can walk. And Seth gets in.
Seth is also walking wounded. He looks like
I was gonna say, I just leaned forward. I'm
like dog shit. Yeah.
He's a real testy fella since he died, eh? I tell you. And I'll just clamber in.
I just look toward him and he was the one I liked. And she just gets in.
Warden does not react. I feel like it's talking to a statue.
Oh, 100%. Yep. Piper just talks to herself to Warden.
Mina, you're still standing outside. What are you thinking?
Oh, she's just pissed as hell about all of this. Everything went sideways. She hated all those people. She's just mad. So she's the last in, and she will just stomp in after Warden and find a place to sit.
Great. So you shut the door behind you with a clang. There's a big wrenching circle, a wheel, as they call it, in a 3-dimensional circle, a wheel. That you turn and it locks the crank shut. You can all see out through some small slitted windows, but the space is fully metal outside of those. And if you knock on those, you can actually feel that they're a transparent aluminum. They're still a metallic. They're not just a bulletproof glass. They're smoky as well. So the light filtering through is gray. And you get the feeling from outside you couldn't see inside this space. It feels like this is designed for, we're rolling up on the vehicle. You could not sneak up on this thing. Right. There's 360-degree vision from within the back. You do hear the crackle of a speaker, and Invictus's voice comes through, filtered through not the worst Vox system you've heard, but not top of the line. And he's like, if anyone wants to talk about anything, pull down the headsets from above. And you look up and see helicopter headsets with the microphones that are all locked in behind the benches. There are 5 hanging over either side, so there's more than enough if you want to talk to Invictus or each other. You'll be able to hear each other over the rumbling of the very loud engine and the clattering of physical wheels on the stone. This is not a grav vehicle. This is hardcore kind of ground and pound semi-tank. It takes off moving pretty quick. You get the feeling Invictus is not a careful driver as both a servant of the Inquisition and a man driving a proto-tank.
Okay.
I'm going to have myself a nap because I am in real rough shape. So just going to just kind of, as we start bumping along, just kind of slide.
Is napping possible on this thing?
Honestly, it's just those sweet 40K lullabies of tank treads rumbling, being jostled around. It feels like home.
Yeah, I was going to say for Mina, this is far preferable to talking to those people in that room. Like the sounds of just machine parts.
Nice.
Yeah, I think Seth would put on a headset and gesture to everyone to put one on.
Yeah, I'll put one on.
Who's still awake?
I'll put one on for sure.
Mina, would you do the caring parent thing and just like put them over Nero's ears while he's snoozing so he can participate, or would you leave him alone?
No, she will leave him alone.
Great. All right. Then I'm snug as a bug in a rug.
I was going to say, Nero, why don't we have you roll then? Let's do... What does this feel like? This probably feels like a cool presence check, difficulty 3.
All right. So cool. All right. And presence.
We'll give you a boost because you would absolutely be tuckered and adrenaline out, and a setback because this is a noisy environment.
Mm-hmm,
I literally want to see if you can sleep or if you're trying to sleep but end up overhearing some of this, because I think that's worth knowing.
Yeah, absolutely. And sorry, difficulty of
3.
3. Cool.
Because 2 is a base check, but it is a moving tank. So I felt like that's
yeah. No. I totally buy that. I am going to use my Imperial Conditioning. This would add a setback die to any checks that affect your mind. I'd like to argue this takes away the setback die.
Yeah, I would agree with that.
Right, love it.
Perfect.
See, Laura, sometimes I don't sabotage things. When I have a nap check, I really make sure.
Yeah, when it's in your favor.
So important.
Sleep is important.
I got one advantage, so no sleep till Brooklyn for me.
One advantage, I'll say you'll hear about half of what's coming through. What we'll say with the advantages, you'll hear anything that Nero would think is pertinent, but you won't catch the rest. So if it's generic bullshit, it won't be there, but your ears perk up if something comes through, either that he would interpret, misinterpret, or have to ask questions about. Then you can kind of consider putting stuff on. But the 3 of you now have headsets on.
Yes.
And Seth would say, excuse me.
He would say that.
Those new lungs.
You would, yeah.
You've had your lungs for an hour.
Yeah.
Well, I think the thing that would be unsettling for you with these lungs, Seth, is it's a lot more regulated a rhythm than you're used to, and it's not synced up yet with your heartbeat or with the rhythm you would expect from breathing.
Oh, I hate that so much.
It's almost assigned. There's like a breathing in and breathing out pace you have to deal with. You were assured by Ignatius over time that it'll be a combo of 2 things. A, you'll get more used to it, and B, it will actually start to sync up with your brain. It's still newly attached to your nervous system. It's a high quality implant.
Right.
But right now it's entirely focused on getting you the oxygen you need instead of the oxygen you want.
Right. Yeah.
And the scars are definitely still raw around the edges.
Oh, sure. Yeah. I think just for comfort, he's wearing like his coat open and his armor is just like off to the side, like on a seat beside him, just so that like just air that out and have nothing like touching and like abrasive on these fresh, like puckered scars on his chest. But he will speak into the Voxcom and just say, it looked like we all had conversations with each of the house lords. For myself, I can say that Lucia Bane did not take kindly to our performance in the gladiatorial combat. I had not yet regained my composure after my procedure, and so I'm afraid I have put myself in a position where I owe her a favor at her discretion, and she took the winnings from Nero Skull Crusher?
Skull Shield.
She took Nero Skull Shield's winnings in their entirety. The silver lining is that I did place both a tracer and a picked fly on her, so I will be conducting reconnaissance on her remotely. And I think he's just going to look at everyone expectantly, like, report.
Mina looks like very unhappy parent and looks at him like dead in the eye. And she's like, so am I to take your report in your assurance that the way that the games went was not an attempt on Nero and Mai's life?
Yes, that's correct. It was a gambit. It was playing the hand that I had been dealt.
It is worth noting.
You hear from Invictus in the front. You hadn't realized that he's also in the
Piper just
Inquisitorial.
cringes. Yeah.
Yeah.
he's Team Inquisitor.
Yeah.
And he's like, yes, it would be strange if it was somehow... Is your name Seth?
Yes.
It would be strange if Seth's plan had been for Nero to shoot the other Nero and drag him into the arena, causing a near civil war.
Yes, that was unexpected.
Look, you just like without opening my eyes, still slumped over, no headphones on, say, you bring a couple of Dark Eldari to the party, and means you've changed the rules. And I don't know how y'all feel about Xenos, but having met a couple of those guys, I gotta tell you, I took the easy route out. But I guess that's not really for me to say now, is it? And I'll just like snuggle back up.
Do we hear any of
I was
this?
going to say, did we catch any of that?
I will say
a headset.
Mina. Let's
gonna
go
say,
with Mina, because
yeah.
I think
I'm probably sitting closest to him.
Mina, can you roll me? A vigilance. I think vigilance would be good.
I feel like I'm speaking in the direction of where I know the headsets are hanging, but
You're just
also with
curled up.
no effort put in.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, we know Piper's at the back, so it wouldn't be Piper who'd hear you over the rumbling of the vehicle.
Or if you're
Seth,
just, like,
I
curled up
think.
without the headphones on, you're just like talking like this.
honestly, yes, 100%. Like it's like I've balanced my phone somewhere nearby, not on speaker, and I'm like, just be like, yeah, if I don't care.
That off tone in the corner.
Yeah, let's say Mina. It'll be difficulty 2 because I think you
Okay.
are hypersensitive to Nero, his statements, or
Nero's
his,
mutterings.
his emotional
Yep.
realm.
You've been concerning before.
I will give you a 1 setback because the vehicle is loud.
Okay. So it's just 2 greens for me. So 2 green, 2 purple, and 1 setback.
Yeah.
1 success.
All right. I will say I will leave it up to you whether or not you hear him and relay it, or whether or not you hear him start talking and put a headset on him. Up to you either way.
This is my thought. She hears him start talking, and she takes her cloak off and puts it non-gory side towards him, and just puts it at like, go to sleep, crazy. You're not part of this conversation now.
Yeah, do you know what? Nero, how would you interpret that? I don't need to make this a roll, but just she's offering you a blanket. She clearly cares.
He would continue to mutter, but he's like actively and to be clear, this is also very like we're joking about how petulant it is. It is also like intentionally petulant. Like he's tired, he's cranky, he's had a long day. And so yeah, I think he would just like do that like drunk muttering person at a party thing where you put a blanket over him and he just keeps muttering in kind of like well, I mean, this is valuable information, but you guys just don't get it now. So
Yeah. I think she would even like pat his head in a like loving way. Like, yes. Shh. Please stop.
Let's stop at that point.
Yeah.
And just
so
snuggle up. It's nice. I honestly, the fact that she didn't put the bloody side down means a lot. That's what really like
was
the
watching
fuck the
out.
blanket. That's the piece that shows she cares. So yeah, I'll snuggle up.
Mina's petting our corrupted interrogator. Invictus made his comment. He's like,
So, did anyone else make any concessions in regard to the governorship?
Well, I mean, yeah, certainly. Like Roberta Vance is like trying to blackmail us. So I guess he found out that like I did the little trick on like Marcus's guys with like the blinding. So he's like, I won't tell Markus that you did that if you do me a favor. He wants me to like blind someone else. I don't know when he says so, but I'm like, sure, I'll do that. Like, but I'm not gonna do it if I'm gonna like risk an incursion of the warp. So I always have that as like a get out of jail free card. I'm like, yeah, no, I'm not gonna do that. Do you want to fucking die? So I don't know. It's kind of like a half blackmail. It didn't really work. I don't care.
So, did he suspect us and you confirmed his suspicion, or did he out and out accuse you of tampering?
Oh no,
with the
well, he
battle?
tried to be like really coy about it at first. It was really annoying because I'm just like denying it because obviously like I don't care about the outcome. I'm just like, I'm Inquisition. This is like small potatoes for me. So he's like, and then I'm like, no, of course I didn't do that. Like, I don't care about this stuff. And he's just like, well, look, listen, I know you did that. Like, I'm like definitely sure. And I'm like, well, why didn't you say that in the first place? And we could have like stopped all anyways.
I have to ask, just for my brain, Piper is very chatty right now. Is this because of the influence of a null that she can feel in the background where when she's uncomfortable, she talks more? Or is this just her giving a report without having a traditional boss?
The second. Yeah, this is just like... this is her
Nero
reporting.
isn't here, so this is Piper off the hook.
Yeah, pretty much. No one's stopping her. She's just gonna go on.
Nice.
I don't know. I don't always know what's important. I'm just gonna give you what happened.
All right, and that's Robert Vance. I just want to make that
Roberto Vance.
Roberto.
Vance
I don't know what happened to her accent either. It doesn't matter. She just talks totally differently. It's great.
That's what it sounds like over the radio.
Oh,
Yeah,
right.
no, I mean Seth's
Feedback.
accent is all over the place too, so I'm right there with you.
Yep.
Blackmail,
Mina will sigh deeply into the microphone, say, "Unfortunately, I also was forced to make a promise because apparently everyone here is extremely disrespectful. I don't before they didn't know we were with the Inquisition, and now they do, and yet they talk to us like animals. I had to promise to give information to Clan Markus, which hopefully we can use that extreme stack of paper that is in the room that we got from the governor to, I don't know. Seth, you can figure it out."
Wait, I'm sorry. Just before you, let me get this right. We've essentially been blackmailed by every single house, like all 3 houses, each one of us.
We all sucked at that.
Wow. Who in the Emperor's holy name are these people?
This is more typical than you would think. Remember, this is not a pathetic backwater system. This is a house of Prometheum feeding multiple crusades. These are not your traditional governors hiding out in their pathetic homes, sitting around doing nothing.
And then he just kind of cuts off and you realize it seems like he really doesn't like small system governors. Don't know why, but it's a thing.
My hand will rise up from under the cloak and just like snap in like, yeah, that, and then just disappear back under
like
the cloak.
jazz cafe.
Yeah, exactly.
appreciation.
Yeah. It's some slam poetry I can get behind.
All the more reason they should be pious individuals who understand what the ecclesiarchy and the Inquisition and what power we hold. I just don't understand it.
Right. So I somewhat traded favors and money for being able to place tracking devices on Bane. Vance caught us in a lie and blackmailed us for our involvement in the gladiatorial games. What exactly did Markus have on us or you that put us in the position where you are reporting to him?
Well, mostly threats, if you can believe it. Physical violence, and who knows what else. He was very stupid, but would not stop talking, and it was very upsetting.
Well, that sounds like that can be played to our advantage then. Very well. Very good. So, you can provide him with any sort of information we want him to know. And also, if it's just under threat of violence, we can righteously have him eliminated.
That is precisely what I've been waiting to hear this entire time.
All right, we're almost there.
And you look out and see the Torox through its smoky, transparent aluminum sides. You can see you're pulling onto the street where the Bolter Express is. As you head towards the building, you can look out and see it's been shored up pretty effectively as a semi-military compound. Around the edges, razor wire has been laid on the street. There are sandbag barricades, and behind them, you're seeing two of the houses you would expect to see. You're seeing half the forces on one side are blue, half the forces on the other side are green. If you had to guess, you'd think they probably split the building in the sense of almost a triangle. So the black Vance troops are probably at the rear of the Bolter Express. You can't see the whole building as you pull up to the front, but it is clearly being set up as a fortress. Due to the care that Seth had kind of made with his agreement and other elements, there is no one on the roof. It appears they were just at the ground floor, and you can't see anyone inside or aiming at any of the windows. It seems like Eve Nuln, your tour de force of a maid, has apparently kept them out of the Bolter Express, so they've just fortified the exterior. So if you have any troops kind of attacking from the outside, there is someone there to stop them. Or if the houses were to decide to change their allegiance to you as inquisitors or competitors, they would have to go into the building and get up to your 5th story, I believe, apartment before they could actually engage with you directly. The Torox rolls to a stop out front. Obviously, nobody's going to cause any problems with an Inquisition vehicle, so there is no armed response. Invictus climbs out, and all of you can start to filter your way out of the Torox. For the 3 of you that have your headsets on, can you all roll me a vigilance at difficulty 2? So it's vigilance and willpower.
Three successes, 1 threat.
Ooh.
Two advantages, 3 failures.
5 successes, 2 threats.
All right. All of you are hearing hissing and the traditional background feedback you would expect from a local manual Vox setup in what is essentially a low-level military vehicle. Mina, you only hear interference voices. You can't really make out anything. There's nothing really threatening about it. It's just there's trash in the background. You kind of take your headset off and go. Seth, you hear overlapping voices, accented in a strange dialect that you don't entirely recognize. And you begin to hear the same words that had come out of your Vox system the night before. Just referencing young Count Kournos with Vorpal blades, darkness fight, blind to the past, young Count Kournos in almost a haunting overlapping pattern of voices with a strong sense of rhythm underneath.
So I'm writing that down.
Yep. And Piper, how many successes was that?
5.
Did you have anything else?
2 threats.
5 successes and 2 threats. Okay. I am going to say that you hear a clean 2 lines out of the overlapping words.
Okay.
Young Count Kournos, the one-eyed knight, with Vorpal blades, the darkness did fight. It's clearly got a rhythm to it. There's a rhyming scheme. It's coming in and out of the other echoes and whispers of the words. You can make that out. It does seem off. The dialect is not one that you recognize, and the voices might not be human.
Okay.
And just as you start to make that out, it fades away. Like you get that kind of haunting, it was there, and then
and this was
gone.
through our headset, yes?
Yes.
Okay. I just kind of look around and say, did anyone else catch that?
Yes. Yes, that's what our Vox was broadcasting. Invictus, is this a secure channel?
Yes,
He says from outside. He walks around to the rear of the Torox where they're all standing, and he's like,
that is internal with the encryption of the Inquisition.
Well, I mean, clearly not.
What?
I mean, there's obviously someone's breaking through.
Oh, you're a psyker, aren't you?
Well, yeah, but everyone else heard it too. So it's there must be some sort of psychic energy or something. There must be something coming through and you just can't hear it. Oh, that's interesting. So it's literally coming in through our Vox, but it can't be traditionally electronic because you're not hearing it. So it's still a psyker energy.
Ignorant, and they want to seem like they're special.
Interesting.
and then he just storms off and into the Bolter Express ahead of you. Clearly, you two are going to be lifelong friends.
Yeah. Useless.
Mina looks very confused about this, but she's hanging back to make sure Nero wakes up and gets out.
Yes.
I am a child who has arrived having fallen asleep in the car. I do not move. I'm nice and cozy.
Mina, do you wake Nero up or do you carry him to bed?
She's carrying him in like a baby. Yep.
As she does that, Piper just looks at her. I would have just kicked him. He's a grown fucking man.
He's very sensitive. It's
just
fine.
I'm cuddled up like you saved me from a fire. Like I'm wearing a fire blanket that's soaked in gore, aside from like the fleur-de-lis side. And I just mutter, thanks.
She's just gonna, this is part of her duty. And she looks ridiculous because it's like her hair and all of it's like blood and her hair just like matted to her face, and she looks like totally gory, except then it's like more spattery and clean. Like her shoulders are perfectly white and clean, and then there's just more spattery, and she's just carrying him in. She's like has nothing else to say. She's gonna go put him in his bed.
It's just a bodyguard moment, and I'm here for it, and it's real nice.
For all the guards deployed to like watch the outside of this building, they see like gore spattered Mina coming out carrying Nero. Seth comes out with like his cane and like hobbling with like his open jacket with like obvious surgery scars. We're a force to be reckoned with. Yeah. We're a bunch of badasses.
Yeah. Better not mess with us.
Totally normal.
Yeah.
You all enter. Eve Nuln is there. She escorts you like, oh, come with me. I've already sorted out dinner for all of you. Don't you worry. This is going to be fine. Oh, it's the Inquisition. This is so exciting. She's clearly small town enough that the Inquisition is exciting for her. So I think Mina, when you look at her, you would see that she actually has a necklace with the Aquila on it. She's got a rosarius, like a little rosary kind of at her hip. She's clearly a highly religious figure who is either, I mean, if you're Seth and you're paranoid, maybe she's the best secret agent ever. But I think for Mina, there's something comforting in knowing that there is someone who believes in the Inquisition the way Mina probably does.
Yeah. Oh, man, that would cheer her up. And she would be like, We'll be back for dinner shortly. Emperor bless you.
Oh, good. I'll send it upstairs. And she just like hurries off, and you all take that elevator with its weird servitor arm, rise up and enter into your rooms. Dinner is delivered a moment later. Do you put Nero in his bed, Mina?
Yep.
Great. It is.
She's going to take his jacket off. She's not going to completely declothe him, but she will totally take his jacket off and take his gun and put it on the bedside table and like that. Yeah, just leave him in there.
Great. So the meals are delivered. Mina, Seth, and Piper. Obviously, you are conscious to be able to do this. It is late at night. This is not like, oh, you got back and it's the afternoon. Like, no, you've had a lot going on, and there's been combat and injuries that require rest and those kind of things. I will say, if you want to do some kind of research for tomorrow's event or do an activity, it will be at a 4 strain penalty for the next day. So you can force yourself to stay up. Your strain recovers fully overnight, so it'll go back to max. You'll just take 4 off the top if you want to stay up to do some kind of research this evening.
So it doesn't cost me 4 right now?
No.
Perfect, because I've only got 2 left.
I was going to say,
now,
not enough.
No. That's why I'm like, it's not now. It's just it'll temporarily shrink your strain threshold tomorrow because you're going to be more tired, so you just are closer to that limit.
Well, let me ask you this: if will it cost me anything to Vox Abacus and put him onto a task overnight, and then I'll go to bed? No.
I think if you were to either contact Abacus in terms of research. When Eve Nuln delivers your meals, she just gives you a quick rundown of kind of what's changed in the building. I managed to keep the security outside. It's all good. It's very exciting. Also, Invictus has taken over the 4th floor, and there's a nice Magos, Ignatius Ironforth. He said that he was joining the Inquisitorial band, and he has taken over the 3rd floor. So if you need either of them to do any work for you, they say just send a note, give a call, whatever you need to do.
Mina will be like, thank you ever so kindly. We appreciate your service to the Inquisition.
Oh, I'm serving the Inquisition, she says, and just kind of putters out immediately. So you do have those 3 teammates, essentially, Abacus, that you can vox up into your ship, and you have Ignatius and Invictus in the building. So there are 3 of you. I would say each of you could assign one of them to look into something for you. You know their specialties. Ignatius is obviously a tech person, and he's familiar with the system. Invictus is a chaotician and an Inquisition expert. So if you needed somebody to look into anything kind of forbidden or chaos or whatever related, that'd be him. Abacus is your general expert. He's kind of equally good at everything, but he won't be able to dive as deep into tech or Inquisition/chaos as Invictus can, just because Invictus has better clearance.
Okay, that might change who I want to talk to, but I know Seth would want to sweep for listening and video devices.
Great. Yeah, let's do a roll for that. I'm imagining you would all assist with this, right?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, Nero, you're
Piper especially.
sleepy time Nero, but
I
Piper,
will say Nero is clearly being a baby about this. If any of you actually did need his help, you could go wake him up. It's just up to you.
would Nero wake up if dinner was delivered? Because I think the smell of dinner would come through. It's grok steaks. It's some nice shit.
Oh, not
like,
To be clear, he's halfway between being a baby, but this is also, I think, like his brain has kind of broken. So this is like physically, he's actually like I've got a bunch of strain, but not that much. I'm more taking this as like after saying Horus, someone's like, yeah, Horus, and he's like, no, I think he's down for the count, but if you did wake him up, he's not gonna be like, no, 5 more minutes. He's gonna like obviously like get up and help. He's just, I would say, like, and I mean, Ryan, you can tell me, but from a strain threshold, I feel like if he doesn't sleep off what's happened to his brain, he's fucked tomorrow. He can do it, but it'll be like bad.
Yeah.
So, but I don't think anyone would know that. So up to you, my friends.
I mean, yeah, like as a player, like having your dice added to our roll would be great. But as Seth, I'm sure I think his thinking is that like Nero would do less damage asleep than awake.
Correct.
Yeah.
fair enough. So of the three of you, which one has the highest tech use?
I've got a little bit in that.
I have no tech use.
I've got 1 point in tech use.
I've got one as well.
Okay, and who's got the higher intelligence?
I've got 3.
4 for intellect for
All
me.
right.
All right, so Seth is the bug boy. So I will say, Seth, let's roll an intellect tech use.
Okay.
I will say difficulty 3, because I'm just doing the math on like these would be slightly better bugs if they'd managed to get someone into the building. And one of the problems is a really good bug or no bug looks like the same thing. So
Yep.
3 difficulty feels like the upgrade there. And I will give you 2 boost dice from your compatriots who are assisting you in this process.
Okay.
The difficulty already represents how they are hidden away.
Okay. This is not perception. Okay. Roll. 2 successes, 5 advantages.
2 successes, 5 advantages. You do manage to pick up some bugs. Interestingly enough, none of them are in the room, but there were 3 that had been attached to the door. You think there were 2 from one source and 1 from another that were clearly, they didn't have time to get into the room. It was a quick pass. So they tried to place it in somewhere you weren't likely to look. But because of your number of successes, you do get those, but you don't find one anywhere else, which actually boosts your confidence. Finding none is always kind of a toss-up.
Depending on
Finding
how
a few that are
paranoid I am,
well placed yields some confidence in your overall equipment.
Okay.
Great. So you have your meal. Do you want to assign any research or do anything else before you all go to rest?
Seth wants to put Invictus to work on just providing the team with a file on on young King Kournos, the One-Eyed Knight.
Okay. All right. So yep, Invictus is interesting. So he collects the information that you have. Do you do this in a public way? I only ask because Piper has some other information she might pass along as well, or is this a Seth does this on his own?
No, it's not something I'm trying to keep secret from the group. It's not public in the sense that I'm standing like yelling at the doorknob with the listening device on it.
I think we'll say the ones at the door, they're just you disable them. Like it's not like you have to worry about that. They just kind of get put in that same jar of bugs you have caught into an inert setup. So theoretically, again, you could try to use those later if you wanted to, but they've been moved and these are higher quality models, so they're more likely to figure that out than they otherwise would. But okay, so you've got Invictus working on researching young Count Kournos.
That's what he wanted to basically, because he was thinking about it. You know, it's been a long day, but it was something he was thinking about earlier in terms of like someone should be looking into this because it's a secure channel between us and Abacus, and now it's like top of his mind because it happened again. So put Invictus on it, and he's gonna rest up because he needs it.
Great. Mina or Piper?
I think I would want to just send a message to the Arbites to Chastener Bo-Katan to add like the young Count Kournos, like the entire phrase that I heard to the search. Because Arbites, they're collecting the information, right?
Yeah.
Right now, on anything nefarious going on throughout the system. So I think it would just be like a very quick message, just like flag this. kind of
Great.
thing.
Yeah. So they will flag that in their system. I think that's an easy message for you to send in a codified way. And it will add to their search as they continue if those words pop up in their collected collating of files that they're putting together. Cool. Sister Mina.
Man. Yeah. I feel like telling Seth to do things was her main goal for this evening. Like, please fix it. Yeah. I think we're just gonna have to go to sleep and try in the morning to get ourselves out of tomorrow's trouble.
Great. Knowing that there are issues with Nero, would you want to call someone for spiritual advice or how to deal with him or those kind of concerns? Because you'd had enough downtime to realize all the things that could be problems for you. I'm not saying you have to. I just wanted to remind you that there are.
Yeah, no, that definitely was on her possible agenda. I just wasn't sure how late it would be to be able to do that, since that's not like putting someone on task. It's like having conversation.
Sometimes people take late phone calls. It just depends on what you call. Picture this as like probably like an 11 p.m. by the time dinner is done.
Yeah.
So late, no question, but the city is still active. The Proto Hive has very much the feel of what you would imagine a large city center has in any of our world, which is at nighttime, it doesn't really die down until that 4 a.m. to 7 a.m. stretch.
Okay. Yeah. I think she would probably, it's all like everyone else is turning in and has the doors closed, and she would check on Nero, like look in the door, like very quietly, and then like shut the door on him, like let him be. And then, yeah, I think she would take a bath and call, she has the number for the Vicar Estevez, the missionary priest guy.
Ah, yes. First preacher missionary, Vicar Estevez. So you put the call through. I think it goes through pretty easily. I'm imagining you're using one of the what's the term? Encrypted sets. So there's a bit of a jarring image to this of like you in a luxurious bath, but you have a World War II style headset held against your ear with the Voxcaster sitting on the floor next to you. So
just a classic relaxing 40K bath.
Yeah, and I was going to say the bath is like full of blood. So.
Yeah. If you start soaking right away, it's a very red bath.
Yes, yes.
There is a cherubim that automatically floats out and starts spraying perfume into the water. It's probably creepy. It's just, but at the same time, you see there is a large button on the side that you can just reach over and kind of hit it, and it will send the cherubim back. So
no, that's like her jam. That's what she grew up around. She's from a cardinal planet. Like she that like is calming for her. Definitely.
Perfect. You can turn the crank the other way and you'll get a little bit of organ music. It's just whatever you're looking for.
This is it. It's this little slice of God Emperor Heaven here.
Perfect. So you place the call through. He answers. We'll treat this more like a phone than a radio because I don't want to sing over a million times for the course of this. And he's just, all right. Who is this?
Apologies for interrupting you so late at night, but it's not. Time is a very precious commodity for me right now. I am Sister Olianne Mina. We met at dinner. Was that yesterday? I don't know what time it is.
Ah, yes, that was yesterday. You were the one who was friends with the cannibals.
Oh, yes, I am friends with cannibals. That's part of my life now.
Well, and then you were banished. Then you came back. I saw you in the arena today. Congratulations, Sister of Blood. If you stay out there, maybe you can do some good for the church.
I was going to ask if you had seen today's festivities, I suppose they call them here.
That's a fair term. Well, I mean, it is legally mandated, so everyone had to watch. So you've become somewhat of a celebrity around, one could say, the entire system.
I don't know what to even think about that, but I know we've only just met, but I am feeling extremely lost amongst all of this. Did you know that the people here have absolutely no respect for the ecclesiarchy? Is that just normal?
Well, if you were to talk to my superior, you would get a very different answer than you get from me. I'm a missionary. I've kind of traveled around and seen a lot of things and stumbled into this job. So the thing that I'm aware of is that most people in an ideal world would believe that they should be asking what they can do for the emperor. But more often than not, people ask, what can the emperor do for them? And the answer is, there's like 200 billion of us or more or something. Not a whole lot if it's not a big deal. That's why not everyone in the entire galaxy is a living saint. There's sort of like one of them to lead a movement of the rest of us who get, less blessed, but equal spiritual attention in an emotional sense. If you're pointing out that the people who run this system are sort of blaspheming, monstrous assholes, then yes, you're correct. That would be an adequate assumption.
Yes, precisely that. it is a lot for me. I'm used to being around people who believe and who act accordingly, but I actually wanted to call you to ask if you had any advice for a wayward soul. Not me, of course, but someone close to me is very, very lost and keeps talking about Horus, of all things, which I don't understand why, but I don't even know why I'm telling you this.
So you're calling on behalf of a friend who can't call?
Yes.
Well, what question do you need to ask on behalf of your friend? Can you roll me a perception?
Uh-oh.
No, I figured that it would come across this way, which is fine.
Yeah, perception at difficulty, I'm going to say 3.
Perception. Oh no, that's cunning. That's not good. It's okay. So that's 2 greens and 3 purples. That's all I got. Oh no, don't rat me out, bro. 4 failures, 1 threat.
4 failures, 1 threat. I think actually what this means is he is going to be giving you advice for you, thinking this is your problem that you are describing to him as a fake friend, so that you don't have to describe it as being you.
Yes.
But this means whatever advice you receive, you will assume is 100% intended for Nero.
Totally fine. Yeah, my only concern was like, he knows her name. Don't rat me out. Don't rat me out to the Ecclesiarchy, bro. But that's her brain. That's where her brain goes. Maybe he's not like that.
Yeah, and I think that concern is actually what leads to this confusion, where you don't realize that his question was like, is this your friend? Air quotes verbally.
Yep.
And you're so like, oh God, don't get us in trouble, that you blend past his implied question.
Yep.
But yeah, so what can I help your friend with?
Well, I've prayed for him over and over, and it's just, he seems to be confused and unsure of why he is following the Inquisition, the Emperor. I'm not sure.
Ah. Well, these are the challenges that always face the highly religious, and even those who are not as highly religious. Faith is a garden. It's something that must be tended over time. If it is allowed to grow free, then it can grow weeds. It can grow in different directions. Things can die. The wrong things can flourish. And it can become, instead of a garden, it's a mess or a jungle full of predators. But what you want is a garden that has been tended, to take the time, to work with your hands, to focus on your goals, to look at the long term. That's what you want to tell your friend. Because the things you work towards are the things that you will find. And the things you want to make are the things that you will build. So whatever your friend sees as the future they dream of, tell them to keep doing what they're doing now, to focus on their job, and they will make that dream come true, because it's up to them to build the future that they deserve.
Mina will legit start to cry. She just starts crying on the phone. She's like, and then pulls herself back together quickly, and then is like, thank you. You don't know how much these words mean. It's so nice to hear someone who understands things. It's been so long that I've been away from the faithful.
Well, I'm available whenever you need to talk, unless I'm sort of doing a sermon. Those are big and there's a large crowd. But I mean, outside of the hours of traditional ceremony, I'm available to talk. You're not just a servant of the Inquisition, nor is your friend. So call me about your friend whenever you need.
Thank you. And if only I had more time, I would certainly love to come and attend one of your services.
Perhaps when you're done with whatever mission is occupying you and your friend, you can come join me in that future.
Thank you. Have a good evening, and Emperor bless.
Yes, you too. And as your conversation ends and you reach down and hang up your World War II encrypted phone and have a moment to relax in the bath, the power cuts out. And the room goes dark around you, and it goes dark through the rest of the apartments. Piper, you're surprised, and Warden, who is sleeping on the chair next to you in the traditional action hero with gun in hand, he's surprised as well. Seth.
I mean, is Piper surprised? She is blind.
But you do have psyker senses for your environment that would be active, and you would feel all of the electricity in this area go to zero.
Okay, I just wanted to be sure.
Yeah, because I think we're dealing with, because of your abilities, you have the equivalent of sight. So when you wake up and you're not feeling those, as well as you'd feel Warden's surprise and the surprise from the rest of the space.
Okay.
And Seth, on your data slate next to your bed, a bright light flashes. And when you look over, despite the power outage, you can just see a full screen, all lit in white, with black words in the center that say, "I know what you did." And from the far side of the apartment, Nero, 2 windows shatter inwards and figures swing in on ropes, drawing weapons, ready to gun you down. From the Chirurgian's recordings of the mutterings of Fabius Bile. Prayer, the last refuge of the damned. I really must investigate the neuropsychological benefits of selective surgery on the right parietal lobe when this is all over. If we could but remove such foolishness from the outset, my task might be easier. Prayer, discussions about religion, all of these things can help fulfill the soul of Sister Olianne Mina. But they are not the most helpful when killers burst in through the windows of the bedroom of Nero Abagnale. Nero, you're awoken as windows shatter and people burst into your room. I think we'll have to do a cool check.
Yeah, that sounds about right.
Difficulty, I'm going to say you were asleep, but you're paranoid. I'm going to say 3.
Okay.
But I will give you 1 setback because I think you were sleepy, but we also know you have Imperial conditioning, so I think we'll call it just difficulty 3.
Yeah, I dig that. Cool.
This test is for whether or not you react quickly enough to get your gun and move first.
Yes. We may discuss what he does instead of reaching for the gun, but yes, let's do
That's
that.
also totally viable.
Great. And if I'm remembering our story points correctly, we're at 0 and 4 right now.
You had 0. I got all 5, baby. You got nothing.
All right. I wouldn't have spent one anyway because I was a sleepy boy. I wouldn't be waking up to fate. Let's see what happens. Yeah, that sounds about right. 3 failure, 1 threat.
Great. So they come in through the windows. One of them yells, "This is for you, Seth," and they open fire. So they are firing las pistols.
Wait, what?
Can we hear this?
I mean, Nero does. From the other room, what I will say that happens simultaneously is you all hear the front door kicked open and a loud bang as a grenade goes off in the living room. But none of you are in the living room. You're in the bathroom or your separate bedrooms. But it's clear hostiles are present. Obviously, they've moved, but you guys will get the chance to move against them. I will say, Sister Mina, you have nothing because you went into the bathroom. You would not have brought your weapons into the bathroom.
Are you sure about that? I feel she takes that. It is her security blanket shield. I would say that it goes everywhere with her also.
So is it like your cell phone where you just like would prop it near the bath just so you can see
but
it?
also I failed to mention is that part of bathing herself is also bathing her weapons because Adeptus Sororitas, part of their like religious thing is taking care of all of their stuff and making sure it's clean. So she was also planning on cleaning her weapons.
Yeah, you really don't want a dandruffy shield.
Okay. I will negotiate with you here. I will say you have your shield.
Okay.
But you don't have the other stuff. You wouldn't actually clean your weapons in water. That would rust them. So it doesn't make sense. What I will say is you would have your shield because if that's of religious significance and you were going to make a religious call, I would believe you have that in the room with you.
We're going to have a religious movement, if you will.
You will have time, however, to carry the shield out into this round or to start to get dressed. There will have to be a choice there.
Okay.
Seth, you have your gear with you, obviously, except for your armor. Piper, you were probably you were asleep, so you're Piper. But Warden is fully geared up. But most importantly, we're in the room with Nero Abagnale, where they have yelled, "This is for you, Seth." And then they are opening fire with las pistols. So I'm just building their pool here.
All right. So normally I have a defense of 2. However, my sweet protector Mina stripped me of my coat before putting me to sleepy time. So I only have a defense of 1 right now for my armored body glove.
Okay.
Unless I have a bulletproof sheet. If it's one of those hotels with bulletproof sheets, but I don't think so.
No, they didn't fortify the inside.
Oh, we really should have booked with gold points, not with standard points. This is on us.
All right, so they have 2 yellow and 1 green. This is at close range but not engaged, so it'll be 2 purple. They get 1 setback for your armored body glove, and I will give them another setback for having, essentially, they're still hooked up to their ropes, having just come through the window.
Yep.
Let's see what... I'm going to use a story point. Let's do this. These guys are nasty. Let's get the story points in the game while I got them.
It's like, I want story points back, but I also don't want you to use them.
This is the trade.
Yeah.
Ooh. All right, let me confirm this damage, and then it'll be interesting. So they both open fire and just rake the bed with las pistols.
No, you're supposed to make the bed, not rake the bed. Make the bed. We've been over this.
What is your soak, Tom?
Well, my soak is normally 6, but I'm only wearing my bulletproof pajamas. So my soak is
Brawn plus bulletproof pajamas.
So it's I'll be at 4.
Okay, so you will take 4 points of damage that get through your soak from being damaged, because it was actually 8. And because of an unlucky roll on their part, you also take a critical injury. So just a second, I need to find out what that is. A sudden jolt, which would normally make you drop whatever is in your hand. What I will say is you flail for the gun on the desk beside you, but instead of grabbing it, you actually hit it across the room behind them.
Love it.
And you have been hit with last fire. So that is what happens in that room. You are now in this collective phase of getting to respond as they continue to close in on you. What I will say is, Nero, you see them draw swords, short, functional swords, closer to a cutlass than a traditional blade. They are in black fatigues with black masks, full head masks with just eye holes, full mouth covered, gloves, boots, looking professional. All the pockets and accoutrement you would expect from professional assassins, essentially. Nero, what do you do? And then we'll cut outside to the room.
Okay. Just kind of like wheezing. I'll just mutter, "It's gonna take more than that to kill Seth Corbyn." And then I'll just yell, "Warden!" And I'm gonna thrust out my hand hard and flip the gauntlet around. Ryan, when you built our dear sweet boy Nero, you gave him an axe. I don't feel like he carries an axe around because that's too metal for our sweet squishy boy. So I really think this is like a Jack Kirby Eternals, like fucking weird, like I have blades on my arms, not in a cool like Assassin's Creed way, but literally like flip the gauntlet up like I'm Buzz Lightyear and it's got an edge on it. So I can like slash at people ineffectively because I suck at melee combat, but it's the best he's got. So I'm going to flip that around and kind of like struggle back on the bed into like a very cowardly, like come at me stance and just hope I can fend them off until Warden shows up. So I want to drop into defensive.
Okay, yeah,
Defensive
that's totally valid.
My axe gauntlet.
So they are closing in on you. Meanwhile, the other three of you are all in your individual rooms. You don't know what anyone else is doing, but you've just heard a grenade go off. I think you're all combat savvy enough to be able to recognize that sound and recognize that was not a flashbang. That was a frag grenade. So there is shrapnel that has gone around that room.
Oh, shit.
You know you have moments before whoever has done what sounds like a very textbook combat entry will start kicking in the rest of the doors, but you do have a moment to turn the momentum back. So what do each of you do? I will say, or do you know what? Let's do a roll for this so we can keep this really easy. This one's going to be cool because it's not your ability to be ready for an ambush. This is just your speed of response to an ambush that is happening. No difficulty. This is just to get a number.
Sorry, Ryan, what was that?
Cool.
Cool. Okay.
No difficulty. It's just
this is for initiative?
Yes, this is for initiative.
Okay. I can use vigilance.
I just got 6 advantages.
Okay.
Damn.
I didn't roll correctly, so I'm just going to re-roll here.
3 advantages for me.
1 success.
All right. Tyler, can you roll me a d6?
Yep.
Actually, roll me 2 d6 and then tell me their numbers individually.
Okay, the first roll was a 1, the second one is a 3.
Great. While you are all about to prepare to burst out into the open and deal with the problem, your doors are kicked in. One of them, a single member kicks into the bathroom where, Mina, you are scrabbling for your shield. And another kicks open the door to Piper's room. Piper, can you roll me... do you know what? I don't even need you to do it. Warden's going to get to go first because Warden is Warden, and there's no way Warden...
Fair.
Warden was the one person expecting an
And
ambush.
someone very handsome warned him. So
True. So can you roll me an attack from Warden? Shooting. Unless you think Warden's style would be to close to immediate melee, which would also be allowed.
I think it's faster to shoot.
Great.
He's getting the job done. So that's just him with the hell pistol, right?
Yeah.
All right.
Difficulty will be 2. The defense is 1. So 1 setback die.
Okay, 1 sec. Difficulty 2.
And
1 setback.
I will use a story point because this is an ambush coming out of nowhere to increase one of your difficulty to a red.
Okie dokie.
Great. Let's see what happens.
Rollin'. 2 successes, 1 triumph, and 1 threat.
Jeez, Warden.
And it's a hell pistol, which does how much damage?
A hell pistol does 8 damage.
Base. Plus
2 successes plus the triumph.
I think this is the grenade goes off. You're both scrambling to get awareness. A guy kicks in the door and just takes a hell pistol shot right to the face. Like he's just in the door and dead instantly in Piper's room. Meanwhile, Mina.
Yep.
Someone is kicked in the door and they are going to be opening fire at you. They are carrying a last gun. So let's see what happens. Your defense, as you don't have the shield yet, you're getting it in hand, but it's not up because they acted before you got to. So your defense is essentially negligible because
nothing. Yeah, I don't
have the
because
shield
I don't have armor on. I don't have a sword. I don't have a shield.
Yeah. All right. Let's see what happens. Of course. They get 2 advantage and 1 failure is their roll result, which is, I should use a story point, but I forgot. But what I will say is they fire and knock your shield further away from them. Mm-hmm. They miss you, but tag the shield. It doesn't damage the shield, but it bounces it across the bathroom. So you'll either have the option of going back to get the shield or charging at them without it. But you're going to have to choose one or the other for next turn.
this is the equivalent of like washing your car and then it rains. Like you just cleaned the shield. Now it's all floor dirty again. My God.
Yeah. Seth, what do you want to do?
I think hearing all this commotion, does he hear things like "This is for you, Seth"? Is that being shouted?
I think you would hear this is for you, Seth, from the distance, right out the gate. Now all this action is happening at the same time. Like Nero is yelling that he is Seth while, gunfire is happening in the bathroom, while a hell pistol is shooting a guy in the face while he kicks in a door. So you're hearing just a tremendous amount of violence, but it's all really fast and really nasty.
All right. So some of us, openly and vehemently worship the Emperor. Some of us, it seems, worship Horus. Seth worships at the altar of Seth Corbyn, folks. So he's going to. He's also in terrible shape after the day he's had. So he's going to. He's going to spring out of bed as best he can, and he's going to push his mattress up against the door to buy him precious seconds to put his armor on.
Great. So Seth is strapping himself into gear. Meanwhile, inside the bedroom, and realistically through the rest of the place, but inside the bedroom mainly, the two mercenaries are closing in on you. You're clearly outclassed, but Nero has taken a defensive stance. What does that mean for us mechanically?
Yeah. So when you take a guarded stance, it basically means you realize that you're outclassed and you're probably going to get your ass kicked, and you want to get your ass kicked the least amount you can. So it means that I will add. It's a maneuver, so it's like my full action, other than yelling a couple times. I add 1 setback to any combat checks I make until the end of my next turn. However, I also gain melee defense 1 on top of my existing melee defense until the end of my next turn.
Great.
So basically, I'm giving up combat ability to give myself a little bit more. It's setback for setback, really. We're just trading.
Okay, and what is your already base melee defense?
It's not great without my sweet coat. So currently I'm sitting at, just to minus some things here, so I'm dropping so my normal melee defense is 2. I lost the coat, so it's 1, but I'm in defensive coward stance, so I add 1. So using
2.
my stupid wrist axe to just keep him at my sort of scythe gauntlet to keep him at bay.
Great. I am going to use a story point. Because he is, they're coming in swinging. You do have story points. Would you use one in return for your own frantic defense?
Yeah, realistically, like from a meta perspective, no, bad call. But from a Nero perspective, I've just told them that I am Seth Corbyn, and I'm just trying to stay alive until Warden gets here. So yes, I'll 100% burn a story point, please, to make that a bit harder.
Great.
All right. And oops, sorry, I might have one more thing. Oh man, I just gave you a proper Canadian oop. I will say I'll just in a panic yell, I have a kill switch. And just like hold a fist up. And I'm gonna call that my clever retort, which is once per social or combat encounter, I could use this talent to add 2 threat to an opponent's roll by saying something cruel, clever, or distracting. It's none of the above, but I'm hoping it's dark enough that me just doing this while flailing my stupid gauntlet is enough to like make them think twice.
Oh, wow.
Cause hesitation. All right, let's see what happens. So that means,
Wow.
yeah. Okay, you would think that would stop them, but between the two of them, one of them bats your weapon aside, and just smashes your gauntlet, and it ends up stuck in the bed behind you, so you can't even raise it forward to defend yourself. And you realize
in this situation,
almost surreally, smoke has begun to build at the floor of the room as this second figure steps towards you. And they raise their cutlass, and they're about to slam it down onto your exposed neck when a flash of color appears around you, and a scintillating blade appears over your shoulder and blocks it. And Nero, you look up and see what you would recognize, I think, as an Eldari in like massive robes, and they're floating an inch off the ground with a belt around their waist, moving with perfect form and grace, even almost as dancing while holding still, one could describe it, with just flashes of color and digitized energy appearing around them. They are in a full face mask that hides their face, with a white pearlescent cover on it. And they just say something in Eldari that I don't think you speak Eldari, do you?
I can roll a check.
Give me some forbidden lore, baby.
Yeah, man. Because I might not, but
Yeah, I will say for
yep, Forbidden Lore works. What difficulty are we playing with here, dude?
I'm going to say this is difficulty 4 for this one. Or, difficulty 4, because A, there are a lot of dialects of Eldari,
Absolutely.
and B, it's a combat scenario, which are the two things that boost it up from where it would otherwise be.
Cool beans. I will take it. Yeah, cool. I don't think I can make any arguments for boost on this, because this is more a passive, just like obviously in shock. Like he's not cool with this. It's just whether or not his brain registers it. Great. I'm gonna roll.
Yeah.
1 failure. Don't get it. I miss it.
Yeah.
Distracted by imminent death.
You don't make it out, but you are shocked, and clearly so are your attackers who freeze in place. And this Eldari spins their blade around in a wickering circle as they backflip over you. It's like a gymnast, as though they'd gone off a beam, only this Eldar went from standing to swinging forwards. And they behead the warrior who had just stabbed you, and twirling their sword and a blade, stab up through the groin of the other warrior, and the blade comes out the back of the mercenary's neck. And they withdraw it with no blood whatsoever. The blood just begins to pool out of the bodies as they hit the ground.
And slowly I'll open my fist and just say, I told you assholes I had a bomb. And then I'll wet myself. I'm fucking terrified. But I still want to get that fucking line in.
Yeah, the sword-bladed Eldari does not respond to these words, just backflips forward and perfectly out the window. But when you look at the window, there's another Eldari in position, crouched a la Spider-Man in the window, only much taller, almost 7 feet tall originally, with plumage, a flowing cloak, and a massive force stave in their hand, twirling like the central pillar that you would see in old fantasy festivals. Like it's just got all things around it, covered in black and white diamonds, as well as diamonds of every color, with the same contorting prismatic air surrounding them in a variety of colors. Their mask is smiling, but it's just a smile. There are no eyes, there's nothing else, and there's a plume of feathers coming out of the back of the helmet. And they look at you and just say in heavily accented Gothic, Count Kournos, not yet. Forget the past. Watch the future. Chase the dream. And they backflip out of the room, and the smoke disappears. And if you run to the window, I don't know if you're a run to the window type.
I'm stuck to the stuck to the bed, and honestly, I would be making no movements because I don't want anything to be considered a threat. So I'll just wave with my like gauntleted hand in a kind of ineffectual way, and I'm just like, this is very much like, you know, someone pushed me out of the way of the train, and I'm just like, okay, I'll just hang out here. I don't think you would. Harlequins are scary, and I'm not going after them. They can just go. It's cool. Thumbs up.
So they're gone. Meanwhile, outside, what is everyone doing? Mina, you are in the bathroom with your assailant.
Yep.
I think we'll cut to there next. That feels like the most urgent of any of these stories. So, Mina, how do you react? Your shield has been thrown away from your attacker. Your armed attacker is closing in on you, reaching for a melee weapon, sword at their side. But what do you do?
Yeah, I think she's gonna go back and go after the shield and like get behind it because she has nothing else. Like she could try to punch this man, but that's not very smart. So she's gonna at least get the shield, but she has nothing else on.
Great. I will say you do get the shield up, and because we're in fight time, whereas everybody else is in moving towards fight time, we'll just continue with this for a moment. So they will open fire, but your deflect is now 3, I think.
Correct.
With the shield.
Yes.
Yeah. Which means 3 advantage, 1 failure. So I think they're just closing in on you. This is the walk forward and keep shooting, only you've managed to crouch down and your shield is just deflecting everything as they come towards you. But they have drawn their melee weapon and are about to strike. However, you have the initiative now because they've had to switch from shooting to sword, which represents, that role.
Yep.
What do you do?
Oh, she's just gonna use the shield and be behind it and barrel into them. So using the shield as a melee weapon by itself and just smack them.
Great. Is this trying to injure them with the shield, like the side swipe to the head, or is this trying to bull rush them out of the bathroom into an area where you might be able to get help?
Yeah, just trying to like push and bull rush the person back and hoping that there's more people outside of it. But yeah.
Great. I will leave this up to you then, whether or not you want it to be an athletics brawn or whether you want it to be a melee strike.
Yeah, might as
For the
well
roll. We know the purpose
We'll
now.
we'll do a melee strike then.
Great. The defense against that will be 1. So 1 setback die.
Okay.
The difficulty for a melee strike between engaged parties is always 2, so 2 purple.
Okay.
And then you can use your melee light.
All right. And then the shield should be a second setback because it's inaccurate.
That is correct.
Okay. So that's 2 green, 3 yellow, 2 purple, and 2 setback.
And you do have story points, just to flag it.
No, we're good. We'll keep
Love
them
it.
for everyone else. 3 successes, 3 advantages, which means I triggered knockdown because it's knockdown of 1.
Nice.
And then that means if I'm doing damage, does it still count for that, or is it?
I think because you rolled with the setback for using it as an attacking weapon, so I think this would include damage in your overall goal. So, what is the damage stat on your shield?
8. 8 plus 3.
Plus 3. So you're doing 11 damage at the gate.
Yep.
Yeah, that's plus the knockdown.
Plus knockdown.
I think you hammer it forwards and activate the field, so it's just screaming against their skin, and they're screaming in turn as, with the fury of your righteous vengeance, you actually throw them about 10 feet into the living room where they collapse through the coffee table that you had, or whatever the imperial equivalent of that, like a golden shitty Trumpian coffee table, just gets smashed to bits, and a corpse is laying there. However, because you did have a very good roll, you are not thrust out into the living room in case there are more foes. You're still within the bathroom. You just hit them hard enough that they went flying. Piper and Warden, what are you doing? Or just Warden if you want to move in combat with Warden. I thought you might.
Yeah, who's left in my room?
There is a
Warden
dead guy
took down the one guy.
Dead guy who tried to kick in the door.
Yeah.
That is it. I would say Warden did hear the interrogator yell his name from the other room, if that would influence Warden's behavior. I think most likely this is probably a Laura Plays as Warden, not Laura Plays as Piper scenario.
As much as I would love to use Piper's powers, I think Warden would act so swiftly on this. So yeah, I think he's just like, he's basically like the second, like even before the guy has like dropped to the ground, he's like stepping around and like out the door to see where Nero called.
Great. As he steps into the central living area, there is another combatant there heading towards Nero's room, having heard the yell of "I'm Seth Corbyn." But they are looking over their shoulder and seeing Warden. They haven't turned to engage Warden yet. So what does Warden do?
The gun is already up. Like,
then
it was just ready to track. So
yeah. If he's coming out in a combat stance, that makes sense to me. So he's just John Wicking his way out, which is
100%.
Let's do a combat roll then. So it'll be melee or ranged light.
Yep.
Difficulty will be 2.
Okay.
And I'll give you a boost because you're coming up on somebody from behind. So I don't think they'll be as prepared as they might otherwise be. They have defensive 1, so 1 setback die for their gear.
One setback?
1 setback, yes.
Okay. And no, I'm just gonna roll with that. That sounds good. Oh, 1 threat. Fucking Warden.
1 threat. I think you open fire, but the other party ducks and rolls. You are dealing with professionals. These aren't low-level hit people. So the moment they look back and spot Warden, they dive into a roll, and Warden's hell pistol shots punch holes in the walls across. Seth, you're strapped into your gear at this point. What do you do?
I activate the cloaking. If that's still functional after taking gunfire.
I think you'd have at least 1 backup. Like you don't know how long you're being inserted for, and you had the ability to bring cases full of stuff. So yeah.
So I activate the cloaking.
Is cloak your coat or your armor? Just for my brain.
It's for the armor. Yeah. So I'm not wearing my coat. Yeah.
Okay.
And having the armor on also means that I have my my forearm mounted plasma pistol in addition to my bolt pistol.
Yep.
Probably, I think
we also might be able to say for future, I don't know if Seth would sleep without his forearm mounted weapon. Like, I think it's subtle enough that he can sleep with that.
I think he's going to wait in his room because he's safe right now. Hearing, I think the glass breaking as they came in, I think he would, with the door still, somewhat barricaded, I think he would smash his bedroom window. He wants to look on the outside of the building and kind of get an idea of what's going on.
Okay, cool. Yeah. Can you roll me a perception then? I would also take a streetwise if you think it'd be more knowing where to look because he's been involved in ambushes before, if you'd prefer that.
They're actually exactly the same. I'll say perception. Oh, right. This is a really good stat for me. I forgot it was. Yeah, okay. 1 yellow, 4 green. At what difficulty, sir?
I will say difficulty 2. I don't think this is super complicated in terms of what you'd be looking for, which is just like, are there more coming? Where did they come from?
Yeah. +2 boost dice to perception rolls, so I'll kick that in as well with my integrated auspex.
Yep.
Okay. And I'll roll 3 successes, 2 advantages.
3 successes, 2 advantages. You look up and see there is a hovercraft comparable to a small shuttle with 4 anti-grav generators at each of its corners. It looks almost rectangular in terms of delivery with its sides open. It's clearly an advanced model. It's not anything you've seen with any of the transportation around the city. However, it is pulling up and away. Clearly, they're cutting their losses on what has happened here. And you see 2 rockets spiral up from the defenses around the ground floor level of the Bolter Express, and both slam into it. And it is going down in a crash. Are you looking for anything particular about this before it is eviscerated? I asked because you had some advantage.
Yeah, as I think foolish as it would be, like it's just unlikely, but any kind of house livery on the side of these hovercraft, anything like that? Or any kind of identifier?
No, which is interesting in and of itself. It is entirely bare metal. And you would have to guess based on if it's something that you did today, this would only have been a quick response of the last hour, maybe 2, to get a whole flight team together to organize an ambush to go slowly enough to get past the security here. Odds are, if this had been, like, you couldn't have had a house vehicle and stripped the color off of it. Okay. So there's something interesting in the fact that this is not probably a house strike.
That's very interesting. Because the data slate, this is for you, Seth Corbyn. I think Seth thought that he had been found out when he planted those devices on Lucia Bane. So that is something that he's very keen to kind of keep track of mentally.
And you get that half second to marvel before it slams into a building further down the street, and the explosion of debris is so violent you have to duck back inside, because it would be really depressing to learn that and then die because you took a rock in the skull.
Yeah. And then Seth is basically waiting to counter ambush anyone trying to get into his bedroom. So he is cloaked, and he is taken up a discreet position in the room with his gun leveled at the door.
Great. Mina. Outside, you see Warden advancing, opening fire, and you see someone roll in front of the door, like roll past the opening, so you know they are out there and what is happening. What do you do?
Yep. So she's just joining the fray. She's going to run out. Maybe she grabbed a towel, if that's possible, in the moment. But otherwise, she is wearing a shield, and she is going to go after that other combatant, like checking out the room if she can even see anyone else. But
yeah, this is a weird thing to note, but I think this would probably be the most comfortable for you in terms of being exposed with Warden, because you're aware that he has absolutely no care. Like, you're
Right.
both just servants of a job.
Yeah.
Yeah, and she's not even, her brain is not even there at the moment. It is
Right,
not, and it's, yeah, it's just more like, get this done and protect. And
Is it
if
is
she
it
heard
like
Nero too.
Is it a wet towel, like the ultimate locker room weapon? Like you are gonna fucking take someone's eye out?
No, like wearing a, possibly wearing
I
a
see.
tiny bit of towel.
I
but-
think what we could do, you know what? Let's combine this with your attack roll, and we'll just find out how cool this is. And then
Okay,
we can
yes.
just
I just
roll
feel like
varieties of cool.
regardless, for visual's sake, I feel like it's one of those situations where she's fighting, but it's perfectly like all shot so that the shield is covering her
I
in
was gonna
every
say,
shot.
no
Yeah.
matter-
Absolutely.
No matter how this goes down in terms of coordination, no one is getting to ogle Mina during this fight. This
I
is
was
an
imagining
action
this
movie.
is like
It's
a
not
Jackie
bad.
Chan level of
Yeah,
like,
that's
or
right.
like a
Yes.
Van Damme where it's just like his junk is always somehow covered no matter which
Exactly.
direction.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Brash
Yep.
can lids for sure. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. That's
Aw.
perfect. It's perfect. Yep. She
So
doesn't care.
let's roll the melee light attack then with the shield again. So it'll be
Alright.
difficulty 2 with 2 purple, and you have to add 1 setback for it being clumsy from the shield, and add a boost because you are coming in on somebody from behind who's busy dodging attacks from elsewhere.
Okay, so I'm double checking my numbers. 3 and 2. So 2 green, 3 yellow, 2 purple, 1 blue, and 1 black.
Yes.
I got 4 successes, 2 advantage. Another smashed into the ground person with this shield.
Yeah, I think that's the answer. You catch them mid-roll as they are off balance. And I'll even say you could stomp on a foot to stop them from getting away. And then how do you finish them with a shield? And on the way out the door, you actually grabbed a towel and managed to snap it around yourself and like knot it at a hip with one
There you
hand.
go. Perfect.
Stomp, smash. So
Yeah.
how they die.
Yeah, she just like stomps, smashes, and she's the sound of it is probably odd and terrifying because it's like wet noises, like foot slaps, like slap, 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 and then just a yell, like in the middle of the empty nothing, like "Ah!" and just came down with the shield and like smashed them like a wild feral wet animal with her hair just like slopping around and the shield on. Probably the shield is like the glowing blue, so it's like complete blackness and just like underlit with blue glowing
Ooh.
is the last thing that they
Awesome.
see before their face gets smashed in.
Yeah, so they're dodging away from red bolts and then die by blue lightning attached to a shield. At which point,
Beautiful.
outside here, everyone is dead, but you know you did hear attacks and screams for Warden from the other room. I'm imagining you and Warden go for
yeah.
Nero's door together.
That's where she would be headed for sure, taking the corner around.
Fabulous. The two of you kick open that door and find a decapitated body and another body bleeding out and dead, both clearly dispatched in close combat, with Nero, his arm stuck to the side of his bed and his other hand raised. Nero, what do you say to try to explain what they're looking at?
Yeah, we're gonna need to back off on the whole Count Kournos thing. Trust me. Okay? And then I'll just throw up on myself.
From an audio recording of Fabius Bile. Any fortification can be broken open, yet they still insist on fortifying. Perturaba's legion of fools. Flesh breaks and iron rusts. Only ideas live forever, and ideas won't survive in a cage, even a gilded one. His lesson is true, but that does not stop the Dominion Omnium Protohive from much more strengthily and strongly fortifying your position. Some of this you'll have negotiation on, and some of this you won't based on this assault happening. There would be an Arbites response from an assault on an inquisitorial known building, and this would also be a time where the houses would push to be able to have their security both in the building and on the roof. Some of these, I don't want us to spend a whole week dealing with the political ramifications of this, so some of these are just going to be questions where you can make those decisions. You would have Chastener Bo-Katan offer to leave a squad of enforcers if you wanted to have them either in your halls or on the roof, or you could allow the houses to do it. They would do everything in triplicate, so they'd all have equal amounts of access, but they'd all also be able to keep an eye on each other because you're aware they're inter-hostile. You would get more protection and better weapons with them, but worse reliability in terms of shadiness. Whereas the enforcers, you can kind of get a little more done with. What would you want to do?
My vote would be for the enforcers because we are actively investigating the three houses.
I would vote for the people not currently trying to blackmail us.
Okay, great. So what we'll say is there's now a squad of 10 enforcers, including mounted las cannon on the roof of the Bolter Express. The PDF has also volunteered ongoing flyover of the city and other areas. They've got fighters that are now patrolling now that they're aware that this can happen. It's interesting for all of you to notice the juxtaposition of public shows of force versus private threats, which is they all, as the houses, absolutely would kill you for $1. But the moment somebody fucks with an institution in a visible way, the whole system starts acting the way you would expect them to when it comes to the Inquisition. Invictus was shocked. He burst into your room about 3 minutes after combat was over, but with a melt-a-gun ready to just throw down, like just heavily overarmed. He almost shot probably Seth as Seth came out of your room. Like just almost got melted by Invictus, but then that calmed down. The big result of this whole thing is higher security. You all got a little less sleep. However, you did get a chance to talk with Ignatius Ironforth. He does have a resuscitrix set up on the 3rd floor. He managed to get one brought over. As you realize, he's had a parade of servitors bringing things over in other vehicles. He was a very high-ranking Magos, but you managed to sneak him out of a job he didn't want. So the moment you said you were Inquisition, he's like, I'm theirs, and just loaded all his shit into your building. He's also taken over the 2nd floor just because he needed more space. But there is a resuscitrix that one of you could use over this night. So the difference is, on an average night's rest, you would normally regain 1 health, and a resuscitrix, you regain 3. So which of your party do you put in the resuscitrix? I'd say your strong options are either Seth or Nero, but Nero is the interrogator, so Nero, if he wants it, gets it.
No, Nero would, despite wanting the painful fast version for Seth, he would still want Seth to be alive because all of this cloak and dagger shit is like beyond. For a very paranoid man, Nero is not good at this paranoia piece because he's just discovered the world is a lie. So I think Nero would I think actually order because I think he would expect resistance from Mina. I feel like Piper would care very little either way, but like I think he would issue this as an order to make sure there wasn't any resistance and just be like, yeah, Seth, listen, I kind of got shot, which hurt, but you kind of got you kind of got dead. So I think maybe you should you want to take a little ride in the fix machine?
I don't like spending my nights in a chamber I cannot escape, given how last night went. But if you're ordering me to climb into the chamber, I will.
Yeah.
Perfect. Then come with me.
And Ignatius Ironforth will just like, he, in a very robotic way with his weird chattering teeth, just swoops, like wraps an arm around both sides of you. And then he anti-grabs just a little bit higher so he can lift your feet off the floor and you're just getting dragged out the door to go. Mechanicus, he's not really interested in the nicer things. You said you'd do it. So you go down and spend the night in the resuscitrix. For the rest of the party, you all regain 1 lost health point. Cool. Or 1 wound, or however we want to say that, but you regain 1. And your strain is collectively filled. Once more, it is back to your maximum strain. For Seth, you regain 3.
Okay.
And your strain is filled again, though you've got your lower threshold now that you have your new augmetic lungs. When you wake up, the scene is pretty much the same. You do get a verbal report from Chastener Bo-Katan. It comes through Voxcast to you using inquisitorial ident codes. So you can open that up, and he's like, well, you know, we got a bunch of fucking local talent, for lack of a better term. I don't know. They're not house affiliated. They all came from the PDF. The pilot I ain't got shit on because that fucker burned up. But the 3 you got, basically deserters and lowlives. I don't know how they got brought over. There's no trace on that ship, which is fucked, because it did not come from on planet, and it did not technically fly into this system. So, big old question marks there. I'm going to keep on deep diving, and I'll keep an eye out for that Count Kournos. Don't you worry.
Yeah, listen, Chastener, you're doing a great job, first of all. I really want to thank you for everything you've been doing for us. I know I feel a lot safer that I won't get shot with you on our side here. If you could do me a favor, I'm going to need you to pause the Count Kournos bit for just a little bit. We've got some very deep inquisitorial stuff going on. And honestly, if he was a guy, if he was just a guy on one of these planets, I mean, you'd already know about him, right? You know all these low lives. You'd know about him. So let's just cool it on the Count. Let's just call him for now, and we'll let you know if we need that. But thank you. You're doing a great job.
Okay, quick question just to make sure we're clear. Now, is this one of those things where you want me to look into it but just not write the name down? Because we could choose a code name like Godric Kevka. That guy just died somewhere, so I can use that name. Or Cassius Luna.
Listen, I love where your head's at, Chasener. But no, this is actually, and honestly, I appreciate that you would think that of us. That means a lot, and it shows how well you know what we're doing here. But no, in this case, this is let's just leave it be for now. Let us do some investigating. But if we pick it back up, sure. What was that second one?
That was Cassius Luna.
Cassius Luna. Yeah. Listen, if I ask you about our friend Cassius Luna, if you could look into the Luna family, their countdom and such, that would be great. But till then, let's just, I think your mystery ship, that's a pretty good one to unravel, and one we're all a little bit concerned about. But also, listen, I don't want to overstep here. I know you and the sister here, you guys have talked more than we have, and I know you've talked to Piper. So, I'll leave you to it. But I just want to say thank you again. It's really nice to have someone we can rely on here.
I appreciate the kind words. I got your whole back. Boris, we got to shut down fucking Team Kournos. It's done. Get away from the computer. Delete that shit.
I will, and he just breaks off the convo.
And I'll just go to the broken window that I'm sure is plas sealed over, and I'll literally just lean against it and whisper, "Hey, listen, I told him to back off, but it's going to take him a few minutes. I'm real sorry they did all that yelling. So if you could just give us a little bit of time to call. We're cooling it. We're all cool here. Okay, thanks again. Thank you." And then I'll just back away from the window. I've never turned my back to that window since, because I assumed there was a Spider-Man outside at all times. The Spider-Man concern is very high for me.
Yeah. I will say, outside your windows now, there are refractor fields that have been set up temporarily. They're powered from Ignatius's floor, but the idea is nobody's going to get in through the windows again.
I've heard that before.
Again, will that stop Aeldari? He doesn't know that. Which leads into the other big concern that came from the night before, which is why I just want to deal with those reports before we dive into the new day, which is Invictus returning with the report for you, Seth. He'd be ready right away. I don't think Invictus sleeps very much, would be what you would guess, having met him. It doesn't seem like anything about the man or his physicality is normal. I will have you roll for this instead of me. Okay. Let's do 3 yellow, 2 green. I'm going to say 3 purple for difficulty, plus I'll give you a boost because with Piper's excellent recall, she actually got the first 2 lines of something complete, which makes it easier to search in a database than if it was just pulling phrases and trying to find the book.
Right. Okay.
Or whatever.
Okay. 1 success, 4 advantages.
1 success, 4 advantages. Okay. Yeah. He comes into your room. I think he's not going to hide anywhere else. He just putters in, opens the door as though he has his own key. You get the sense he has an inquisitorial ultra key somewhere, so no one can keep him out of rooms. And he walks through the living room, ignoring everybody else eating, and walks into your room, Seth, and starts talking to you while you're asleep because he's completely oblivious to other people's emotional states.
And he's like, "Yes, you need to wake up so I can tell you what I discovered about Count Kournos." So
I spent the night in a Vita chamber, right?
Yeah, but I imagine,
so just toweling goo off of me.
Toweling goo. Or he waited until you went upstairs and maybe tried to catch a moment of actual sleep not covered in goo, and that's when he burst in. You got some options. I forgot about the resuscitrix, though, I'll admit, so thank you for that.
No problem.
But yeah, goo. He won't even wait till you're out. You're detoweling yourself out, still trapped in the tube, and he'll talk to you there so you can't leave.
Yeah, so Count Kournos, I was doing some research in the Black Library. I got distant access, which is very exciting. And it turns out, from what I can find, preliminary findings, of course, this is a whole land of Aeldari myth. But we have a small portion of what is known as the myth of Kournos and Isabella. It's been translated to Gothic, which apparently makes it somewhat wishy-washy in its quality because Eldari is A, a fancy language, and B, includes, I don't know, dance and special facial expressions to understand the words. But here are the first passages I could find. Young Count Kournos, the one-eyed knight, with vorpal blades the darkness did fight. Blind to the past, with danger ahead, a creature launched forth and his father made dead. Riding forth to the woods to slay this foul beast. Ellipsis. That's all I've got, but it's what I have found. The Eldari.
I assume you would have told him the Eldari came last night, Nero, or would that be your team secret?
I don't know if I've been made aware of that.
I don't think we've. I feel like
that's why I'm like it's kind of a Nero question because if Nero told everybody knows.
Sorry.
No. I agree,
you're right.
But I also agree with Tyler. Like I would have told everybody, but I don't know if that would have happened before.
Seth
actually
got recessed.
You know what? It probably would have because I feel like Ignatius wouldn't show up immediately in the violent scene. He would come after. So yes, I think I would have told everyone if we did have a moment to do it. Similar to what I just whispered out the window, it would have been kind of like. Hey, yeah. So Eldari came in. They're really scary and very murderous, and they asked politely after killing the guys that were trying to kill you, but thought I was you, which is insulting for different reasons. But yeah, they said to back off the Kournos thing. So if we could just cool it on that, so they don't come back here and fucking kill us all, that would be really great. You know. Okay. And I will have left it at that because I feel like then Ignatius burst in the door.
So that's what Seth knows. And he's like,
yes, well, the Eldari somehow involved.
Is this, Ignatius or in Invictus?
Invictus.
This is Invictus, but I was referring to Ignatius because he's the one who walked in robot armed
to get
Mechanicus Seth out to the room.
Cool.
So I feel like I literally finished like, don't you go talking about it? And then boom, Mechanicus comes in, picks him up, and is like, all right, off we go. And I was like, well, it's Seth. He'll figure it out in the tube.
So are the Eldari somehow involved in your mission?
He asks. From outside the tube you cannot get out of. Even being this close to him would make you uncomfortable, Seth.
Okay. How clearly can I communicate with him on the inside of this thing?
I think it's muffled a la... Yeah, okay. Sorry, not I think. It is. It's muffled, like talking through glass or underwater, but you can still hear him clearly and he can still hear you. You just have to talk louder than normal from inside the tube to be heard.
Okay. Seth will say, I don't know what it means yet. Continue your investigation. I need to know the entire Kournos and Isabella story.
Interesting. I will dive deeper into my research and return to you with findings in future. What there can be, I will require assistance, and we'll see what those idiots at the library are all doing. No one understands what's going on. He's just
out the door and gone again. It seems like he's frustrated by anything that is not working exactly the way he wants. Unsurprising
Seth,
for an Inquisitor.
Like, just releases a breath that he was unaware he was holding as that guy gets further and further out of range. And just to make sure that I'm tracking this correctly, we saw Eldari at play in the Colosseum as well, right?
You saw, so there's two different kinds of Eldari. There's the Eldari and there's the Dark Eldari. So the dark versions are the tortury evil ones. Eldari, these are the classier, tragic, fallen alien versions of things. Decadent, but hopeful, mercurial. Half the time their interests are aligned with humans. Half the time they're manipulating them to betray them in furtherance of their own goals. The Dark Eldari are in it for pain and self-worth. The Eldari are a race that is at its twilight of existence and are trying to eke it out moving forwards.
So dark, we're in the Colosseum, and
I think
classic.
Aren't they called Drukhari now?
Yeah, the Drukhari are the dark Eldar. Yeah.
Okay.
The Drukhari. So imagine if you were like the chaos-fueled evil version of Space Marines and then the good Space Marines. This is the Eldar split of the Drukhari. You're right. I don't even think they're called Dark Eldar. That's just my fucking brain.
Yeah, no, they changed it. Yeah,
no, you're right. They're Dark Eldar and Eldar.
Do you know what?
Cleveland, they have a TV show, the Drukhari.
Patreon the name Drukharius to try to fit Drew Carey into space, and fuck you, Games Workshop did it, so it's coming.
It's already there.
Well, the Chaos Gods don't matter.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you would know that those are two different factions, Seth.
Okay.
Okay. This the fact that the Eldari are involved at all is weird, and the fact that it's linked with their mythology is also strange.
So they're coming through our radios. They're protecting our operatives. Yeah. Gotta know what this story's about. Yeah.
Yeah, so Invictus will continue his research, and the next time, not today, because there's going to be more time for you to figure things out, but the next time you get to either have a chat, either tonight, depending on when you get back, or the following morning, we'll be able to do another roll for him to find more information through the Black Library.
Okay.
Now, Seth is toweled off and returned to the room. Everyone has been able to re-gear up. If you had any clothing or items that were damaged, those have been repaired overnight. Ignatius is a walking forge. So whatever gear you have that may have been dinged up or needed additional maintenance, you now have an official Mechanicus presence who can do that for you. So consider it all sparkling and shiny. In terms of clothing, I think your traditional clothing would still be fine. I don't think anybody had any crazy damage to their clothing. Seth's armor was the thing that got blasted to, but we've established he has a replacement. Piper was uninjured. Nero was shot, but in his special body glove. So I think having one bullet-sized hole in a body glove does not negate its value. It's armored throughout.
Yeah, realistically, I would almost take that as like being shot while wearing a bulletproof vest, where it's like the impact, it redistributed the actual las blast, but it still fucking hurts. It still does, because I'm a squishy boy.
Yeah.
I think I would get Ignatius to rework my axe arm thing, realizing I might get combat shivved a little bit easier than I thought. I think I'd basically get him to rework it so it's like a I forget the actual name, but basically like a nightstick. So rather than an active like aggressive weapon, just kind of like mechanically rebuild it so it's more like just something I can block and hit with. I think we can just keep the stats as is. It's just like I won't.
I think the term is a tonfa. I looked it up,
tonfa.
and
You
that
are correct.
Looks correct. So
Yep.
so it'll be a permanent tonfa that you can spin out when you need to use, or spin back into the wrist piece as you go.
Love it, because I think I've realized guys with swords, like it's like handing me a broadsword. Like I'm not going to be able to use it. I can carry it, but like,
yeah. In terms of your ongoing story things that you are aware of, you have confirmed that Ghazi Cologne matches the genetic sample that you had, and you have confirmed now that Lucia Bane matches the genetic sample that you have because Nero ran that test. So those two have been confirmed to be who they claim they are by genetic test. You still don't have results for Roberto Vance or for Krungus Markus. In terms of the promises you have made, Piper has to blind someone at some point, but that won't affect your ongoing adventure here. At least not your research at this point. Seth, you have promised to do something in future, but again, not affecting you right now. The one thing that you do need to factor into your expectations, if you want to, because that's really up to Mina. Would she remember? But she did tell the group that she did this, so that's why I'm reminding you. If it had just been her remembering, I wouldn't have given you the hint. We'd see how it plays out. But she has promised to deliver information on another house to House Markus before the next competition. So
Before the next competition,
what you want to deliver is up to you, but you need to deliver that. It is the morning. The heist you all discover on the news to much satisfaction. You also have access to Imperial records, so you'll get a rough rundown. The heist happens tonight. So you have a morning section of preparation, and you have an afternoon section of preparation, and then you go into the heist. The heist itself is a much feted experience. It is considered one of the classiest of possible optional activities to decide a new governor. How the heist functions is
FETID or FETED?
FETED. It's not the poopiest. So figure out what your plan is. You can make it whatever you need to.
Had to check.
How it functions is the entire night begins at a celebration, a ball. There is a fancy dinner where all of the houses attend, the major players politically attend, and the competitors attend. Then an item has been placed inside a safe at the center of a warehouse down the street, with a variety of defenses that have been set up by various Imperial servants and other teams. There are heist teams from each house. So in this case, there will be 4 heist teams. You, or the agents you choose, and the other heist teams. Whoever steals the item and gets it back to the party and gives it to the current governor wins.
Okay.
So the big steps are to identify the defenses, to identify the other heist teams that are going in, and to try to figure out where you can, of all the options you can imagine from, I mean, a million shows have done this, including Brooklyn Nine-Nine. It's like, do you try to fake the item? Do you try to be the best thief? Do you try to ambush another team before they get it back? The options are open to you right now. You have one round of mourning, which I will give you one kind of task each that you want to carry out in terms of research. The same in the afternoon.
And we still have one favor that we can ask of
Yes.
one of the groups.
You have an ace in the hole where you will be able to ask for a favor that cannot be refused of one of the major governing bodies of the world. No one else has used their favor that you're aware of at this point. And Seth, worth flagging, you also have your tracker and voice thing with attached to Lucia Bane. I will say you could spend your morning or afternoon reviewing what's been recorded.
I think that's what I want to do. I want to see what she's planning to do regarding the heist. For your information, regarding the information you may or may not provide me, picked flies are better at picking up video than they are at picking up audio.
Okay. Great.
And let me tell you about the tracking device. It indicates the direction and distance to the marker so long as it remains within range. Within 1 kilometer, the signal will remain strong, and even out to 2 kilometers, the signal will read properly so long as there isn't a large amount of stone or metal between the marker and the tracker. Yeah.
Okay.
So she may just kind of blip off depending on where she goes or something like that.
Great. Can you roll me a perception? Let's use cunning. Your Auspex adds what? 2 boost?
Yeah.
I will say cut that down to 1 and we'll allow that for the fly. I'm going to say your picked fly will take off from where it is on your target to then position themselves to kind of track somebody. Otherwise, you would have to, I don't see you with a remote like flying it around.
No.
I think it's smart enough that it can land wherever it is.
Yeah.
Let's roll a perception. I will say difficulty 2. This is more like it works. The system works. You paid the price to get it in place. This is just what quality do you get out of it. I will add 1 setback because there is a lot of footage to cover. There's always a chance that you will, over the course of having to review 12 hours of footage, miss a conversation or something could be audio and not video.
Okay. Great. Okay. So I'm just reviewing, I think, probably off of my data slate. I roll 2 advantages.
2 advantages. What you see from the video confirms what you got with the tracker. Lucia Bane went back to her apartments immediately and stayed in her suite, having a variety of meetings. Your tracker, unfortunately, went with the dress when she changed out of it into a more kind of comfortable blue, almost velour kind of tracksuit around her apartments. She had a variety of meetings and a variety of calls. Interestingly enough, you did see that she had a meeting with a representative from the Imperial Navy, and they left looking pissed off. And that's all I'm going to tell. That's what you get for your advantage. If you'd had a success, you may have been able to overhear things, but it seems like your tracker, due to the amount of stone built into the house of House Bane, was not able to send audio as well as video. However, it is still active.
Okay.
So I will say in future, we will add an additional setback, so just make a note on those rolls because of the thickness of the walls that's interfering with audio transmissions, but you can go back to that well and try to draw more information or observe more in future. You'll only get what happens in her bedroom and her kind of home suite because the fly isn't smart enough to follow her around her building.
That tracks with the device, how it works.
But if you get another meeting with her in her space, you could recollect it as well if you wanted to.
Okay. May I look into this message that I received in the dead of night, moments before an attack, on my data slate?
Yeah, of course. How do you want to look into it?
Is this something that I could put a more tech-savvy person like Ignatius on to trace
I would say
that kind of message?
Let's put it on Ignatius, and he can get it to you by end of day. It'll
Okay,
take him some time amongst his other duties, but it'll give you something that'll be actively looking into that.
Okay.
I need a little time to do it because it turns out this is under several layers of encryption, plus it's a hack, and I need to not just figure out where the hack came from, but I have to move beyond that to discover who is the operative trying to hide they are. Usually there's at least 3 or 4 identities between them and the solution, but I can get this for you if you give me time. Also, how are your lungs? I had to fix a guy for Bane. It's a weird day. It's a weird day. Ha, 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 ha. It's so nice to be in the Inquisition.
I don't have time to answer all of those questions. You just let me know when you have something on this. And I tap the data slate.
I'll do so, but you should consider learning binary. It makes these whole conversations so much easier. Isn't that right, B711? And a servitor just goes, blah, blah, and he goes blah, blah, back to it. He's like, we just wrote a play.
Yes, well, blah, blah to you as well.
That meant nothing. Goodbye.
And he goes back to work. So that'll be your morning. You've assigned Ignatius his task, and you've discovered that something is going on with Lucia Bane and the Navy. Piper, what is your plan for your morning? What do you want to look into or do to try to enhance your team's experience? I guess we'll say morning will be research, afternoon will be doing, then heist. That feels right. I can also come back to you if you want a second longer to think.
Yeah, come back to me.
Nero, as the decisive leader, I'm going to force to go first. What are you planning on researching in the morning? You also have access to Abacus, so it doesn't mean it has to be something directly in your wheelhouse.
Yeah. Honestly, I think so Nero, again, his strength isn't in a lot of these individual tasks or skill sets, but he usually, I think, a lot of his job is almost mop up, like looking for the details that would go unnoticed or like, this is shitty analogy, but like in an Ocean's 11 movie, he's the guy who's like, okay, but could we train a guy to break dance through the lasers and steal it before the quest even begins? Like, he just doesn't ever feel like he could win, so he's more inclined to see if there's a way around it. So I think my interest is going to be in the history of the heists. I feel like this is a classy event. It's one that people clearly enjoy. I take your Brooklyn Nine-Nine Halloween heist thing to heart, where like these things are likely spoken of, particularly by the people who don't participate, who are just at the ball, who just get to like witness like, oh, I know there's a heist going on around me. I think he wants to learn that because honestly, the only thing he can think to do right now is try and delay people from getting to Gazi. So he just wants to know what the ball is like the entire time the heists are going on elsewhere, because I think that's the piece he suspects he might not even be able to control. But if he knows that, he'll at least have some sense of what the end of this looks like. So I guess for that, is there...
I think Abacus could help you with this because that feels like local history. So I think we can give you a nice big skill boost for this. Right, you'll be the one using Abacus, so other people will have to use their own skills or other stuff, if that's fair.
Yeah, I also feel like Abacus's usefulness would decrease depending on how active the thing needs to be. So something like, hack the historical records makes sense to me, but like, get us a gunship. It's like, I can't.
Oh, yeah.
That.
There's straight up shit he can't do. I just mean he's academic, so you can't have full power Abacus.
No, absolutely.
Quests in a row. For you, it will be 4 yellow and a green.
Okay.
Versus difficulty 2. I'm going to add 2 setback just because he's not from the system as a native. But he is very good at combing through records and finding the truth, even within propagandized versions of events.
Cool. Yeah, I dig that. I don't think I have any boost to offer this. This is really I can think of the idea, but I can't help you execute it.
I think I will argue that you can have 1 boost because you're only interested in what happens at the ball at the end. You're not interested in the whole heist, so he's just got to track what's like the last stretch of them, and that feels like it would cut down on his searching.
Cool. Yeah, and I may even just like make idle conversation with the enforcers to be like, this is clearly a disaster, right? You guys hate this, and try and get like those little like added details, which I think, okay, great. Love it. Rolling away. Interesting. 6 advantage, 1 failure.
So the interesting thing about this whole thing is there's only so much that people learn, and then they don't record it. They don't want to record how people won the previous heists because they don't want to give away how people have pulled it off. From what I can tell in the records, there's a large number of them that appear to be somehow related to... I can't remember whether this guy's British or not. This is fucking killing me.
No, I think you're in the right zone.
Yeah.
I don't know. Sorry, Abacus. Listen, I'm getting a bad transmission
with everyone's dialect on it except Abacus. Fuck me.
Abacus, listen, I just want to warn you. Your voice is coming through a little garbled. It just sounds, maybe it's the same, maybe it's different. I can't hear it either way. So I think you're doing a great job, and I really appreciate you and the voices you do, Abacus.
I'm recording of his British question mark.
Hang on, let me turn the British filter up.
Yeah,
there you go.
Oh, yes, there we go. So,
thank you.
What I think I've learned about this whole thing is a number of them have lost right at the end. There's been a surprise at the ball. It is a popular tactic, but it is not the favorite with the citizens. They always want to see the heist be the most exciting thing. They try to videotape it, but of course, moving around the cameras is part of the whole heist. So the end of the ball could be dramatic. There are a few things I can tell you for sure, and these are peripheral to what you're interested in, but they are very interesting. 1, any team can kill any member of any other team. There is the possibility of just massacring the opponents at some point, at any point, before it starts. The teams have to be announced the morning of, so you are all unfortunately locked in. You could have hired gladiators for gladiators, but this is you. The prize has to be delivered to the governor, which is not actually Ghazi. The governor
Rancid.
is...
That's what I meant.
Rancid,
Yep.
yes.
Yep. Sorry, I meant Rancid. Yep.
No, but this may be more useful for you because Rancid can't really move around on his own, which means you could move Rancid. There are options.
Yes, that was rather... Oh, sorry. I got the dial for the British on my end, too. Yeah, no, that's kind of where my head was at, Abacus, you know? That's what one of the things you always told us is always look for the angle, right?
Yes. And at the ball, you will all get a chance to see the teams. They are celebrated, so you will know who the competition is. If you don't find it before then, you'll know at that ball, these are the teams. Obviously, people change appearance, people change outfits, people have their own active plans going in, but that is the amount they know beforehand. You're not going in totally blind, even if you just walk in with nothing.
All right, that's really helpful, Abacus. Thank you. Hey, listen, well, I still got you before you go. Has Inquisitor Billingberg sent any more word for us?
Nothing direct. I believe he trusts you to continue what you're doing, but I can patch you through today if you need to at some point.
And like just a smile spreads across Nero's face and be like, yeah, that'd be real good. Unless it's like our one call, you know, I don't want to bug him, but yeah, I think it might be worth if he's willing, if he's around, worth a chat.
I'll put through a request, and I'm sure he'll be willing to speak to you and the whole team and have a quick discussion, perhaps around midday.
Yeah, I got an afternoon free. I'll pencil you in. Thanks. That's great. Hey, Abacus, I appreciate you. Thanks for that.
Oh, thank you. That's very kind, very kind. And then he putters off, and the link breaks. Mina.
Yep.
What is your research? What do you want to know about this morning of the heist?
Well, I think Mina's main thing she was focused on is like knowing she has to make that promise to that guy, to Markus, and needing to put that research through. So I think in the morning she was just like, yes, Seth said he'd work on that with me. And then she looks for him everywhere and he's nowhere. So she just has to go in the corner with a pile of papers that were sent from the governor originally and just like try and find anything about the other house that we don't like.
There's
Ronaldo?
Markus, which is Krungus, or there's Vance. There's
Roberto Vance. There you go. This is great. She's already off to a great start. She remembers the name and everything. So I think she's going to look for some research on Vance to give to Markus because Seth left her up a creek.
All right, so you were trying to determine things about House Vance in general that might be weaknesses, or about the heist specifically?
I think she would not know to be specific about the heist and just be like, in general, something that she can throw him a bone that would help because he wants it today it's got to get done, or else we have another target on our back. So
Great. So let's find out what that is. What are you specifically looking at? When you're looking at the records on a house, especially as expansive as they are here, you're essentially looking at the records of the United States of America. And you have all of the documents on the history of the United States of America.
Yes.
Only when you want to deep dive, you really can. You have access to all the redacted stuff, unless they've hidden it. You have access to all of the budgets. You have access to all of the personnel files. The stuff we would never get as citizens, you have.
Yeah.
What elements of their house do you want to look at? All you know about Krungus Markus at this point is kind of personally, big, dumb, wants to be governor, weirdly pushy and overconfident.
Yeah, I think it's going to be a split between some of the most recent stuff about this specific Vance house person, like the main house, and then also if she can find anything that's like secrets, like even if they're really, really old, things that had been covered up, random, something blackmailable, like that won't affect them at all, but will make him happy, you know?
Okay. All right. We got a couple of options here. And I'm tempted to give you something really nice, but that doesn't really seem in the spirit of the system.
Man.
Okay. Perception would be an option, which would be just fishing through at random and seeing what pops up and feels valuable. Just your ability to perceive something and spot the value in it and deep dive in. Streetwise is your ability to spot things that you know would be useful in those circumstances, which I think is interesting. I would also take vigilance. Vigilance is just, you're going to try to absorb as much information as you can and project something that you think would be useful after that. I think those three are the most realistic that you can choose between for this. Because of the records that you have, I will give you the choice between 2 boost or an auto success, and you can add which you choose based on the fact that you have the records.
It's a good question. So the funny thing is, all the options you gave me are exactly the same. They're just 2. So
okay, here's the thing. I don't think you choose something that you're obviously bad at to do this, so I am going to go with my bullshit then, and it's because I like you, Mina. I like Mina, and I like this idea.
It's because the Emperor is smiling down upon her from all of the bullshit she's been put through so far.
I'm going to limit your search a little bit, but it'll help you be more accurate. I'm going to say that you are going to be focused entirely on the military and weaponized aspects of House Vance, but I will allow you to use your melee light stat to represent what you know and the training you have had as an ecclesiastical warrior. You've actually been involved in the administration and been inside military organizations and see how they work, especially if they're based out of established bodies.
Well, I will push back on you on that, because the thing is, she has been in training for that, but she hasn't actually. I feel like she has fooled all of you, because she is not actually a sister of battle. She was trained and did not make it. So, but I will say that if I could use this, I have a scholastic lore, because actually her job was being a paper pusher and rifling through documents. So she knows how to look at documents, because that's what she did for 5 years.
Yeah, more what I meant isn't she's the baddest ass in the world, but just she's existed in that world, so she'll know shit that stands out that doesn't math out from the paper side of that kind of business.
Right.
You don't need this many personnel carriers relative to the number of staff in this building. So yeah,
Totally.
You know the paperwork of war. And let's use melee light for that. Or sorry, scholastic lore. We'll use that.
Yes. Okay. So that is
difficulty will be 3. Harder than nothing, but you do have most of the documents that you would need to actually find anything you're looking for. Do you want to add 2 boost or 1 automatic success?
Oh gosh, I would like 1 automatic success.
Great.
And then could I use a story point?
Absolutely, you can.
Okay.
And so will I. So.
Oh boy. Okay. So this is a pretty even split. So I'm looking at 1 green, 2 yellow, 2 purple, 1 red, 1 automatic success.
Let's see what happens.
Oh, Mina, please. 3 successes, 4 threats.
Interesting.
Okay. This is fun.
This is what happens when Seth is not around to help. Thanks, buddy. Thank you. Great.
You're welcome.
Is all you hear from Seth inside his room, where he is currently reviewing pick-fly footage. Let me just confirm one thing. So
I feel like she probably, the first time she went, he was like downstairs talking to Ignatius. And then the next time she's like, keeps knocking on his door and he just won't answer.
Yeah. What you discover about House Vance is an interesting and useful secret. House Vance, because they have such identifiable skin and they have issues with the sun because of that, they're almost alabaster, like marble pale. They don't engage in a lot of space travel, the space travel side of business, because they can't do exposure to the raw sun without receiving significant damage. And they don't do a lot of the surface work, which has contributed to their military, which is the militarized side of House Vance traditionally is mercenary heavy, more hiring outsiders, bringing them in and keeping them on the payroll, not in the sense of like we hired you for a job and you go, but just in the sense of they've hired mercenary companies on a regular basis to act as their forces. And that's been one of their big selling points is like, we know mining, we're not worried about the war side of things. Which it turns out is absolute horseshit. Based on the amount of money they've been spending internally, there is no question that they actually have a cadre of pretty deadly, well-trained warriors who are specifically kitted out, much like the Navy ratings are kitted out to be able to wipe out people inside a spaceship without blowing holes in the walls. They are shock troops designed to storm mines and other prom facilities without setting them on fire. It would be the most hostile of hostile takeovers. You're seeing the majority are stub-based weapons, so it's no lasers because those things would create too much heat. They've got a significant amount of R&D money that appears to have been put into creating rounds that do not fragment or do not spark, trying to create kind of accelerant-free weapons. And with their Mechanicus contacts, you think there is a chance that they've got a working coil rifle, which is a rifle where the round is sped up through a ring of magnets. This is a true thing, but I just find it really fascinating. But sped up through a ring of magnets, so it is silent, but they can approach hundreds of meters per second or massive force through them. And with some Mechanicus backing, it's not a huge force worth, but there is a nasty strike force hidden somewhere that Vance could unleash at some point to take over somewhere in an undeniably effective way, where essentially the other side would only be able to fight with knives without risking blowing themselves up.
Very
You discover that.
interesting.
The problem is that while you're doing that, you trip an alarm inside House Vance because you'd started on paper documents like you'd think. And then you had to go into the files, and then you followed chains that led accidentally through the firewall and into House Vance, where you used governor's access codes thinking you were safe, not realizing that he gave you everything, including access to his lower level hackers files. So an alarm starts playing from the data slate in your hand, and your data slate starts ringing, and you see it as a call from Roberto Vance. What do you do?
Hang up.
It starts ringing again.
Oh no.
Just flipping it over, declining the call.
Can we block this call?
I'll just yell, Mina, I'm trying to have a conversation with Abacus. We're dealing with some accent filtering. Can you answer it for Horus's sake? Come on.
Oh boy.
I'll slam my door.
Yeah. And it's like Piper just like, Horus.
Yep. All right. I guess she has to answer this. Hello.
What the absolute fuck do you think you're doing, Cologne?
You have the wrong number. I'm sorry.
What? You think I'm fucking dumb? You're inside my major files and you're using governor override codes, which, by the way, aren't supposed to do this. So now I know you're fucking hacking in to my fucking house. I am going to rip your fucking bollocks off, and then I'm going to fucking feast on your entrails. You realise this is we're a fucking Cold War. You and me, Cologne versus fucking Vance. You tell your boss, dead. I'm gonna fucking off him. It's gonna be the fucking end for you and your fucking little weasel fucking analysts.
Oh, okay, I will make a note of it and pass that on. Thank you, goodbye.
Can you roll me a deception?
Oh, God.
Oh, this is beautiful.
Where is deception? Oh, yes, on this chart that I have not anything. Great. Cool. Yes. Sure. Difficulty?
Yeah, 4.
All right.
It would cost you a strain, but this is your thing over the whole morning, so that would recover anyway, so we won't worry about it.
All right. We don't have any story points left.
You do.
Oh,
you
we
do.
have. Okay.
So do I.
Okay.
You got 3, don't
You
we?
can upgrade yours too.
Yeah, spend them both ways.
All right, great. We're having a good time.
I will say 2 boost for the fact that you are using access codes and an identity that would come from within the Cologne network. Man, 1 setback. I'm going to give you
Sure.
1.
Thank you.
Because I think your response is so ballsy, it actually would sound like a hacker if it was a certain kind of hacker, just pretending this was like a customer service call. But he is also pretty savvy.
Okay. All right. So this is the shakedown is 1 green, 1 yellow, 3 purple, 1 red, 2 boost, 1 setback.
Yeah.
All right.
Oh, 1 success, 1 triumph, 4 threats.
Hey.
He doesn't call back. And you feel with a great satisfaction at your core that you have pulled this off. And you can see in his network as you are booted out that he is already sending messages to declare a new subtle Cold War against House Cologne, which feels like a big dodge for your team. Until, Mina, you remember that you're working for House Cologne. And the easiest way to strike at House Cologne is to kill their heist team.
This episode of the Valentyne Heresy features Tom McGee at McGeeTD on Twitter as Interrogator Nero Abagnale, Laura Elizabeth at EL Hamstring on Twitter as Piper Fairley, Tyler Hewitt at Tyler_Hewitt on Twitter as Seth Corbyn, Del Borovic at Deltastic on Twitter as Sister Olianne Mina, and our Game Master Ryan LaPlante at the Ryan LaPlante on Twitter. This episode was edited and mixed by Laura Hamstra, and the Valentyne Heresy's show logo was created by Decapitated Markers at Decapitated Marker on Twitter, that's MRKR. Our theme song is The Hordes by Megan McDuffie, and our ads use the tracks No Control and Chiefs by Jazzar, JAHZZAR, provided by freemusicarchive.org. When it comes to Dum-Dums and Dice, you can visit our website at dumdumdice.com. Our Twitter and Instagram are at dumdumdice, and on Facebook at facebook.com/dumdumdice. We have merchandise available at redbubble.com/people/dumdumdice, and most importantly, you can join our Patreon at patreon.com/dumdumdice. That's DUMBDICE. Ave Imperator, and death to all the heretics.
Dum-Dums and Dice has to give a special thank you to the supreme beings of our Patreon at this time: Christian Menicola, the Half-Blind Prophet, Christopher Little, Sue One, George Dolby, One True Artistry, Orion Birchfield, Lord of Borovic, Noel Lewis, Scott Garland, Anthony Griffin, Benjamin V, Gavin and Abby McDonald, Cade Peters, Richard Cranium, Anna Zed, Eric Williams, Logan, Fire Unfriendly, Acrix, Cameron Ezel, Grandma Likes D&D, Alan, Austin Nut Powers Fry, Stabby Stranger, and Jill and Noel LaPlante. If you want your name to be added to this list, you can join our Patreon too at patreon.com/dumdumdice. Thanks to them, and a little bit of thanks to you.